Alrighty, welcome brother Paddy to our episode 3 of the Bebbit podcast. Paddy Scroggins.
Paddy Scroggins, mate.
I'll start off by asking you about hunting. So we've both been getting into hunting for the last 12 months, probably fair to say.
Something like that.
How's that journey going for you so far?
Bro, I love it. I love hunting. It's a cool new experience that I'm glad I've had someone else on the same sort of beginning buzz.
Yeah, it's good to do it together, eh?
It is. It's nice to have someone else there with you to, like, you know, you ended up getting a roar, and then, like, I would be like, fuck, I want to get something, and I'd get a rifle or something, then you get a knife or whatever, and then suppressors, etc., and it's been a cool kind of journey. Obviously, we had the hunts course, which is fantastic. It's coming up, and I've told a lot of people to do, and I actually might be going down to speak at their kind of initial group meeting, which I don't know if you remember, but I remember going to it.
In Pardo.
Yeah, that outdoor.
I remember Jace. Talking Jace.
Oh, the heavy as deep Jace, yeah. Bro, you should get him on for a podcast.
Yeah, one day.
And so that was really cool, just learning all that, leveling up, and I wonder if we, not to be arrogant or anything, but I wonder if we're like true success stories of the hunt or the hunt's course, because we've gone out on ourselves. We've both had a couple solo missions.
Yeah. Successful
solo missions. We've both got some venison and a couple goats. I know there's a goat head up in your back garden behind us. So, bro, tell us about that little mission that you did.
Yeah, well, before that, I reckon just quickly while it's in my mind, I was at the hunting expo last weekend, and I was talking to JV, and it does seem like we are success stories of the hunt schools.
Oh, that is cool.
He was loving it, like the videos we're doing.
Yeah,
he was loving it. He's like, it's awesome to see you guys going out there, doing that.
No, that is cool.
I guess that's what they're there for, right? It's their passion, like giving back to the community.
Well, they're volunteers, aren't they? So,
and then they see the younger generation coming through. And then it's cool that you're already giving back, right? You're going back literally the next year to yarn.
Yeah, and I feel like that Owen guy, I think he's another success story, and I think he'll probably be at the...
that'd be cool.
He actually might be helping out further, I reckon.
Oh, that guy's probably like a step above us. So he's onto it.
He is onto it.
JV was talking about him. Obviously, I'm not on Facebook, so I haven't seen, but he was saying Owen went out and got his first big stag. Yeah. Posted it in the group.
And it was I think it was like a 200-meter shot.
Oh, wow.
And then it seemed like it was a big mission with his dog, and it was pretty cool to see.
He definitely seemed like an onto it guy on the hunt course, like a smart man. So doesn't surprise me that he's picking.
Bit of a soldier too, eh? Like you want him on your side if you.
Well, and it was funny because when we're like setting up camp at night, everyone sort of gravitated to his little setup.
Yeah.
So it's like he had all the goods. It was good, man.
He's just a genuine good bloke, that guy. Yeah.
Let's talk about the hunts course, eh? What did you enjoy about the hunts course? What did we do?
Well, it's set up into about 8 weeks of weekends, and you do a classroom kind of activity for 2 hours where you're learning kind of how to pack what you need to pack. Another week might be on first aid. Another week might be on butchering an animal, and then you have the practical where you'd end up doing some actual practical butchering of an animal. The other 2 hours on that day, so it'd be 4 hours, 2 and 2, would be learning to shoot and practicing, learning from kind of stationary prone, which is the easiest sort of shooting, just because of movement of your scope, and then as you kind of stand up to more practical standing shots, and they're just kind of helping you gain experience. And then what are some other things we learned?
And I guess when we went there to the range, it was cool because I'd split us up in 2 groups. One would be like half the day in the classroom, and the other half was on the field, like down the range shooting and stuff. And
they'd split up friends who like came together, so you couldn't just be with your mate. You had to intermingle. And
I think that was good, eh?
I think it was good
because in all the classroom sessions they split us up, but then when we went away, they let us, go. We went on the hunt together because obviously you don't experience that with your close mates, but all the training was done separately. Yeah, which was cool.
I thought it was extremely well done, and I think that's why both of us, and I believe it was $500 when we did it, And it was just, it was tremendous value for money.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like you said, it's like 8 weekends and two
going away hunts.
And one of the weekends was like 3 nights. We went Thursday night, eh?
Yeah, it might have been 3.
And we came back Sunday. That was the navigation weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, and like even that in itself is like, because we weren't allowed our rifles on that one, but it was just, leading, using your compass, and it's good leveling up and learning from those old fellas.
We were the dogs of that trip. We would go out, do 10-hour days out in the bush. Everyone would go back, be knackered. Me, Paddy, and the bro TY would go to the top of the hill and do like an hour boxing session, like shirts off. Mate, everyone was like, "Oh, look at these guys working out."
Without gloves. You would, like, I think it was was it the Wednesday night or something, and you text me like, "Paddy, take your gloves," and I was like, "Oh fuck, here we go." Yeah. And I'm glad you did, bro. Like, it was very cool.
We didn't even talk to TY about it, but when I said, "Bro, did you bring your gloves?" his eyes just like lit up. He's like, "Yeah, bro, did you?" Of course.
One, it was amazing because he was training for a fight, and he ended up not being able to do the same hunts weekend that we did because he had a fight that weekend. And I know that instructors took him out a different weekend. And because that's kind of the course comes together. The course comes together when you've got to obviously you've got to take an animal and you've got to butcher that animal, and that's when you technically pass the course.
Yeah, right.
And so like he had other instructors take him out, and I know Wendy was taken out a different weekend.
That's right. We went out there, right, with the Mukamukas.
Because we happened to be out there.
Yeah, we tagged on.
Yeah.
Was that when we were with Ash?
I think it was. And that's when JV's like, this is the whole old experience. He's like, oh yeah, and you go around, and when you're coming out in the sun, you might find some animals just on the clearing here. And it was like, we did a big day mish, started pretty early. About probably 6 from the Mooks or 7 from the Mooks.
Yeah, I think we met at Avalon Park at like 4:30 a.m. or something
like that, eh? And then we did the big mish, got a couple animals, 2 or 3, 2, one maybe 2, eh?
I think you collected a couple. Ash got one.
Yeah, I think I got 2. That's right, and Ash helped butcher the second one.
And you made us eat raw liver.
I did make us have some raw liver. Yeah,
the
healthiest organ meat. Full of all that methylfolate, bro. But yeah, that was awesome. Then we were coming out and we're all exhausted, like a big day, about like 12 hours. And
I think we did 20k, I'm going to say.
Something like that. And just as JV said, like on the clearing in the sun, there's all these animals, and it was like, we were just like, what the hell? Like, we could just wait here kind of thing.
That's experience for you, I guess, right?
It is. And it was just, it kind of doubled down my reverence for the man.
But yeah, I guess on the hunts course, like on that final weekend, how you say it all comes together, they wanted us to get at least 3 goats each, right? Well, we did have the option of getting deer as well.
Yeah, and they also didn't force you to kill if you didn't feel comfortable. But I believe everyone, I'm not sure, I think everyone did.
I think everyone got at least 2. I'm just trying to think. I can't remember if I got 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I definitely got 1, and I had Neil helping me, and he was like so good, man. Just patient while I was butchering it, but also showing me what to do and then letting me do it so I could learn. Yeah. Because if you just watch someone do it, it's not the same,
it's not. And it sounds like he was a really good teacher and having you learn. And then like you, I remember, I think you were then showing other people Neil's way later on that day.
Yeah, I was.
When you stole my animal that...
Let's not even get into that,
bro. But that was, I mean, I don't want people to get an impression of like it's just a numbers killing game, because I think it's not for me and it's not for you. And I think it's very important for me at least that to take the animal, and you honour the animal by taking as much meat as you can carry. And when we talked about our successful kind of solo hunts, we both got a deer by ourselves, and deer are quite heavy. And I remember weighing my pack when I got out, and it was 35 kilo, and I think yours might have been a little bit heavier.
Yep.
And like we took all 4 legs, back steaks. I took the organ meats as well, and I think that is your way of honouring the animal. because it's not an easy thing to just kill, especially the bigger animals. A deer, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but they're more intelligent, and so the more intelligence seems more like it's almost like harder to kill, I think, as opposed to goats, which are a bit more lower down intelligence.
Yeah, it's weird because they're still not easy to get in the dense bush.
No.
Like, you still are bush hunting trying to get them.
And it's amazing watching them climb a hill. Like,
they can. It's incredible. Go, man.
It's incredible. But like it's reminding me of that little one that we saw, and like I was going pretty slow. I kind of figured there'd be a goat in this area, and I think you were just keen to get back, or you didn't really kind of think there would be an animal on, and so we're kind of walking quite a little bit faster than we probably should have, and this mum just bolts up the hill, this nanny goat, and I'm like, there's a little one there, and Brad's just like, shoot it.
Well, you were leading, so it was your shot.
I know, but
I was just following you.
You were pretty close, and like I felt like you spooked the nanny, because I felt like you were moving quickly. Yeah, I felt like you were moving quickly.
I was just following your steps, brother.
I think you didn't think there was going to be a goat there, so that's what I felt, and then saw the nanny goat disappear, and I'm just seeing this little fucking, like, it's tiny,
adorable thing,
and it's looking at me just like, hey bro, and I was just like, bro, and I'm like, and you're like, shoot it, bro, and because we'd spent probably what?
I don't think I said shoot it on that one. I said shoot it on that other one, because you were like, bro, I can't shoot that, and then you're like, you can have it, and I'm like, well, I'm not shooting it now if you're not going to.
Well, yeah, let me tell the story. This is definitely how it happened. And it was that little ass baby, and I was like, you were like, shoot it, bro, because it had been like 8 hours.
I don't remember that part.
Okay, you might have pushed it from your memory, but we had we'd been out there for how long when we saw them? It was
the end of the day.
It was the end of the day, and we'd both missed a shot.
Well, we came the night before too, so we'd been pushing, 30 hours or something.
And so you don't want a hunt to be wasted, or wasted opportunities. But it was just like both of us. Well, so this is my recollection of it. Is you were like, initially you were just like, shoot it, and I'm like, bro, I don't want to shoot you, shoot it. And then I think you like took a step, and then you saw what it was. This is how I remember it. And then you were like, oh yeah, no, not for me either. And I'm like now telling you, shoot it, bro. And so I thought that was quite.
That's not how I remember the story. We can leave it at that.
Crack up. But yeah, it's not just like a killing thing I think for either of us, and I think it seems right to me to, when you kill, to honour the animal by taking the animal's meat, and if that means you've got to suffer by having a heavier pack, I think that's the correct approach. It feels best for me, and I enjoy that kind of grind as well.
Yeah, well, it's the manly thing to do, right?
I think so.
You got to suffer through that pain to get out all that meat and respect the animal.
Well, and like that, so your head in the garden, that billy, that's a big boy, and most people would say the billy, the older meat, it's not very good, and all the rest of it, and so they might even just take the back steaks, right? But we took all 4 legs, we just diced up the meat, and I made I think it was pretty good.
It was delicious. I don't understand people's thing around goat when they go, oh, gross goat. Every time I've had it, it's like, this tastes good.
And it was pretty soft, pretty tender. Obviously, it depends how you cook it, and because I'd slow cooked it.
Paddy Scroggins is a bit of a chef over there.
That was awesome. So I really enjoyed, and to me, that's that kind of full circle with hunting, and why I really enjoy hunting so much is you're then able to share that meat with your friends and family, and I think that's when I know that human beings were hunter-gatherers, because I can feel all the reward systems, I can feel all the pleasure it brings me to be able to share that with my friends and family, and knowing that this is the healthiest meat. It hasn't been pumped full of water or whatever else they're pumping meat full of. It's lived out in the bush. It's away from everything. It's just eating the purest, organic, you can't get better meat. And to me, I think I froth that, and it's awesome to be able to share that with your friends and family.
And the fact that we also were taking out the bones of that animal, and then Paddy's a master at making the old bone broth over there. So Last night, I mean, you gave me some bone broth. I went round to mum and dad's. I was trying to get them to have a cup each, but they weren't keen.
True. Did you manage to get them or nah?
Nah. I had a cup of bone broth with dinner, but to be fair, I sort of forgot about it. We had eaten a whole lot of steaks.
Okay.
And I was like, gotta have some of Paddy's bone broth.
Fuck yeah.
But it's funny because I take it to work, and when it's cold, it's all like big.
It's a little bit jelly here.
And like clumps of fat and collagen and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just scull it straight.
Yes, so
it's a mad dog.
Yeah.
And people walk into the work kitchen and they're like, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "You want to try some?"
You're like,
bone broth.
I'm just honouring the animal. You know,
exactly.
It's another process. It's very healthy. It's full of collagen. It's full of protein too. Like it's what we want on our kind of like athletic training. We need that to recover and stuff. And I actually did. I'm the same. I think we're similar. Where we like get something, we just force it on our parents. And both my parents actually tried it. I gave my brother a cup. He happened to be home. I gave him a cup, and he was not keen at all.
Oh, really?
But he ended up, I kind of like guilted him a little bit. Like, oh, you make me, because he used to be a chef in the Navy. I'm like, you make me all these things, and I've never turned down it. I always try your stuff. And then like kind of went away, and then I get him a message. Yeah, he kind of like pipes up a bit later on. He's like, oh, you should have cooked a bit longer. You needed to really bring out more of the flavors. He was like, it wasn't deep enough. It wasn't complex enough. And I actually thought it was my best bone broth so far. I don't know what you thought.
Well, that one last night.
Yeah.
I thought it was good, but I actually think the last one you did before that was better.
Okay.
But the last one you did, it didn't have goat in it, right? It was venison.
That was venison bones. And I believe you can do the bones twice. And I chuck in most people turn their noses up, but I chuck in some chicken feet, which apparently are very high in collagen.
Oh, yeah. And
that's why people like using it in the bone broth. And again, it's just, it's another process. It's another way. Like, I might give one bone to the dog. She absolutely loves any venison or goat like bone. She's throwing that thing around. And that's cool to see as well. But then, it's awesome to make some bone broth as well.
And just taking that full circle all the way back to the hunts course, when we got our few animals, 3 goats or whatever, we were taking all the meat, right? I don't think we said that. So we weren't just butchering for the sake of it. We literally were packing out 3 goats each. Yeah. And we took all the meat home. Yeah. Which was awesome. So that was the very first sort of...
Our introduction. And I think because some of the... most experienced hunters will just take the back legs and the back steaks. But then there was like, I think Neil, like he was showing you how to get even the eye fillet from the back. And like, so you have to, I think some people can do it coming from the back after the back steaks, but most people you would have to remove the organs and then the eye fillets are there and you can kind of pull them off. But I haven't actually got eye fillet off any of my animal, we haven't mastered it, and that was cool to see. Like Neil was very much a meat hunter,
Yeah, he was really about taking every bit of meat.
I think Gordy as well. Yeah. And so I think you're able to take those little bits from that instructor and, this guy. And
well, that was the cool thing is we both learned different ways to butcher an animal. So when we go out, we still sort of do it differently. Yeah. But, but we can learn off each other, right? If we want to.
Yeah, I was trying your more way of pulling them off in that last video that you've put up on YouTube.
Yeah, Life of Bebbit. Check it out. Me and Paddy goat hunting in the Mukamukas.
Yeah, so that was cool video, that one. Give the dog a pay rise and whatever.
Okay, so I guess since we're on the hunting topic, let's flow into the Firearms Registry. So you've got a website which is Pathway to Health. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
And you do some blog posts which go pretty in depth. Yeah. I really enjoy them. I know a few of the boys do as well. Yeah. One of your blog posts were on the Firearm Registry. Yeah. Which is, well, I guess one in New Zealand, you need to go through a pretty strict process to get a firearm in general.
It's very hearty.
Just like a 308 type caliber, or what would you even call that? You can't even get an AR in New Zealand. You're just getting like a hunting rifle type firearm.
A 3 to 5 magazine, and it has to be bolt. So you have to reload every single shot, and like knowing what we know now, I think people with firearms just get very tense, and like you can't really blame them. Like I think before the hunts course, before getting into hunting, you just assume you're like ARs and like people just spray and it's actually quite hard to kill. And if you were to do a standing shot, like I'd love if I could get people to look through my scope, pointed in a safe direction, and anyone can go down to hunting and fishing and ask to look through a rifle, and you should always point it in a safe direction. This is one of the rules that we have to go through and learn, and they're good rules, the New Zealand safety rules. And if you were to look through and aim and you try and hold that on a target, like you'll instantly just realize how difficult, like it'll be waving around like madly. You can't stay still and focused on something. You're breathing, everything affects it. The rifle is actually quite heavy, and you'll find your arms starting to tire just from holding it. And like all of these things just make it's not really like an AR is a human killing machine, right? Whereas a bolt action rifle is not that. And the Firearms Registry is just, it's a little bit too heavy into government control for me personally. And when I dive into the reasons of the Firearms Registry, and they talk about wanting to make like this Kiwi safer, and I should have read my own article, but they wanted to talk about a lot of, I kind of need to refresh my memory.
I don't know if I'm about
I wrote this like 2 months ago.
Give me a sec, I'll see if I can pull it up. This is when we need Dill, bro. Dill, pull it up.
Jamie, pull it up.
Pathwaytohealth.org.
No, it's not that. See, I'm not even at the highest search results, bro. Apparently it takes like a year before your website.
I think it's .com, mate.
Yeah.
Pathwaytohealth.com. We might not be able to get into it today.
But they have these 3 reasons of what they want the Firearms Registry for. And to me, the registry doesn't even deliver on those, because I'm going to have to remember here. So what are the one's the crime, and so firearms, I'm not going to be on the topic well enough, I think, to really put my foot forward in that regard.
But I guess, the ultimate thing with the Firearms Registry is they definitely are wanting more control. Like the amount of effort you have to go through to get a firearms license in the first place is pretty intense.
Yeah.
And then for them to be wanting to track like every single movement you do, every single ammo you buy, like where you live, I guess registering a gun. It's weird because I was never as enthusiastic about it as what you were. I think you were more anti the Firearm Registry. But I understand the point that you said in your article, which was like all the gang members that own rifles are the ones that don't have firearms license anyway. Yeah. So it's like they're not going to go and register. All the illegal shit that's going around is not going to be registered firearms anyway.
You've jogged my memory here. So one of them is to make police safer. And it's like if police suspect that a firearm might be on the property, or if they're like, they can't rule out, a registry doesn't rule out a negative of people who illegally import them. And so they might suspect that a firearm's on this property. They might know that some are because they're registered, but it's very unlikely. And then they're going to act in the exact same way. So it's not going to change their processes. Like because the chances are, and there's, what was it? Is it 90% of firearms seized from police are illegally imported, right? So when they have this big old registry and blah, 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 all the good people register their firearms, and they're the ones that are impacted by the rules. They're the ones that have to share their personal details. Like now my doctor knows that I have a firearm, right? And so like and I have to wonder if the receptionist there, she now sees that I've got a firearm license. She knows my address from their files, right? Like, so technically my safety of my firearm is now shared with everyone or with more people. And I think that's wrong. But getting back to the making cops safer is is because 90% are illegally imported. Clearly, there's not an issue with bringing firearms into the country. And they can be illegal. They could be semi-automatics. They could be the more dangerous rifles anyway. And police are going to act in the same way, because the chances are that these criminals, they're the ones that aren't going to follow the rules. They're the ones that are going to get the illegal ones. And clearly that is the case, because the fact that 90% of firearms seized from police are illegally imported.
And let's be real, like the criminal firearms are not going to be like 308 hunting rifles.
It's not going to be
they're going to be
bolt action rifle.
They're going to be pistols or semi-automatic or something like that, right? Because what are you going to do? Like whip out your quick scope from your car to shoot a gang pad or something? That's not going to happen.
No, it's not. It's not realistic. And that's one of their rules. And they had two others. Potentially, if we keep talking, it'll jog my memory. But it's just over the top. And
how much do you remember? How much we're paying as taxpayers for the firearms industry?
Yeah, well, it's $95 million over 10 years. So it's already cost, like, obviously if you set something up, it's quicker. The initial cost is more expensive. So they've already spent over 10.5 in a year just to set it up, and it's like, we're getting, like, I was getting hassled from some ladies from the Firearms Registry, and I mean they were just trying to do their job, but man, it was just, and like, I don't like the process. I don't like the fact that I've got to share, like, we are private citizens. It's the definition of what we are, and we're served by public servants. And I don't know about you, but it feels like, to me, I'm like a public citizen, and like my information is everywhere. They know everything about me. Like, you could go from browser history to like all the way through to firearms, and it seems over the top, and I don't feel like a private citizen, and to me, our government should be serving us, and it oftentimes doesn't feel like they are. They're just doing things that look and sound good. Like, the Firearms Registry was brought in because of Christchurch, and it's like, Christchurch was absolutely awful. It was an evil thing. But then to just, like, it was a big overreaction, I think, and they just wanted to do something that looked good. And, and it did look good, because I remember talk show hosts in America and talking about, look at New Zealand, like they just jump on it and they do this. But it's like firearms owners, hunters in New Zealand, we're the ones that take the hit, and it always feels like it's the private citizen taking the hit, so the government can at least look good. And it doesn't sit well with me. Yeah,
and on that, one thing I really didn't like is so this is a weird topic, because you posted your thoughts into the NZDA page, the Deerstalkers Association, which is what we're a part of, what we did the hunts course.
Yes.
And you posted your article of the Firearm Registry, which is anti-firearm registry, and I think they almost must feel like they have to promote it, because that's all the firearms registered people are in the NZDA.
Yeah.
And so Paddy posted on the Facebook group, and you were just like respectfully trying to have an open discussion.
And there was like 3 comments that we were actually going back and forth.
Exactly. And I guess that's where, isn't that like democracy, like free speech, is you're trying to express your thoughts and trying to come to a conclusion of what is right and what is wrong. Yeah. And you were asking about the Christchurch shooting, like, back then. I
wanted a little bit more information.
Exactly, because was that firearm that he used, was it illegal at the time anyway? Because it was a full auto. I'm pretty sure you couldn't get full autos back then.
And so, like, I wanted to be more clear in the details for my article, so I wasn't...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they went ahead and deleted Paddy's post and then kicked him from the group and reported his thing to Facebook or something, didn't they?
No, so Facebook flagged it. The AI kind of, the systems, it just pulled it up, and then they made the decision that, I guess they didn't want to bring the heat, which it brings, and they decided to not do that. And to me, that's a greater crime. That's kind of almost the bigger problem, is because now we're not even allowed to talk about it, because that would put the deerstalkers under a bad light, and so there's like this now pressure to be quiet and not talk about these things.
But see, wouldn't it be like, if the Firearms Registry really made sense, wouldn't they let you guys talk it out, because they would be confident that in the end their side would win, because their side makes logical sense.
Yeah.
But maybe they were scared that it was the opposite, that everyone would jump on the bandwagon and be like, this doesn't make logical sense.
And It's still almost so. And so I got flagged. So you have triggering events, and then you have to register your firearms, or you're going to lose your license. And so like it's another example of how I was a law-abiding firearms owner. I'd followed all the processes to get my firearm, and they just decided to change the rules. Right, so they changed the rules. Now I have to register those firearms, to go online, I have to do all the process, like to make an account, all the rest of it. And then if I don't, I lose my license. And so like, they've just moved the goalpost. And like I think that shows you how little power we as citizens actually have. And they can just write new legislation. Now you have to do that, or like you're going to lose your license. And so
you've potentially spent thousands of dollars on buying a firearm and everything else, and if you lose your license, you have to get rid of it.
And so I had to make this decision, because they were actually physically talking to me about my firearms, as they set me a deadline, and they said I will lose my license. And I still don't sleep well. Like I think I should have fought it, and it doesn't sit well with me that I ended up caving, because I think I had reasonable points, and like I think I could have taken a stance for the Kiwis, and instead I tailed, I bent over, I like did what they wanted, and that's what every other Kiwi is doing. And had I stood up, potentially things could be changed, because we go into the gun stores, Gun City or hunting and fishing, and anyone that's a firearms owner doesn't like the registry, and they're keen to scrap it. And you're talking to that fella yesterday. I don't want to use his name in case he doesn't want to be known, but
dude at Gun City,
he's a good fella, and he was just like, hopefully we're just hoping they scrap it. But like that triggered me in a way where I'm like, again, had I been someone fighting it, that might be another reason to draw attention to it, and that might be another reason that it actually does go. So it doesn't sit well with me.
Well, you need multiple people standing up to it, right? But
you do. But I've been the first,
Yeah, and I can see where you're coming from. Like, one man against the government is a tough thing to do.
And I ended up choosing that, not going down that road. And like, I'm only so many hours, and like the day I'm trying to train for a half Ironman, Jiu Jitsu, blah blah blah. Like it's it's hard to do it all. And I just decided against it, because I didn't want to. And like, I don't want the police be thinking in my head that the police could actually seize me. They could actually come and do like a SWAT on me,
like a raid,
right? And it's like, I don't really want to go through that. Like, that's going to blacklist me. Maybe it's harder for me to ever be able to get a license, and that's kind of like the bigger issue, I think, because it's just easier for people to just comply, and it's just complying to the government.
That's it, right?
And I think we saw a lot of that with the vaccines,
and we've spoken about that they just try to make it as hard as possible, without forcing you to do it. But that is their way of forcing you to do it. Their way. Like you say, we all live such busy lives. Yep. We can't devote hours of our day to
standing up and researching, finding out that you are right in your feeling, because if you have a feeling that's like, it's just a feeling until you can do the research and you can find out for yourself, oh, this isn't right.
Think about with the vaccine, how hard they made it for people that didn't get the vax. Bro, you couldn't even go to the mall and order a tank. You couldn't even go buy a juice without having a vaccine.
Well, you need it for the supermarket, didn't you? So
no, I don't think you didn't need it for the supermarket.
I thought you did.
You just needed to wear the mask and stuff, which I would never do anyway. You get those weird looks from people. But yeah, no, to buy any takeaways or anything like that. And it's like, why do I need to show you my vax passport to buy a tank?
Yeah.
I'm trying to buy something off you. Like, I'm trying to pay for a service. Surely them as business owners would want it.
Well, the business owners did want it. It was just the government.
Yeah, the government was putting the pressure on the business owners, to be like, we'll shut you down if you don't ask for vax passports. If you don't comply,
and then it's just easier for them to not go through that hassle, so that they do it, And I think that is a legit tactic that is used by governments all around the world. Well,
didn't you say you heard that weasel in America talk
Fauci,
about it?
Yeah, Fauci, Dr. Vaccine. I did hear him. There's a clip where he's talking about it. He's like, we actually realize that if we make it just hard enough for people, they're going to comply. And it really kind of hit me where it was like, damn, they're actually consciously doing it. I just thought it was an unconscious thing. But if they're consciously doing it, they're like,
Yeah, that whole time that we just went through in the last 4 years has been pretty wild, eh? And it's I mean, even with everything that's going on right now, with what happened with Trump, and it's just crazy times.
It's crazy, bro. You do think sometimes, is this us like living in a movie? Like, it's just.
That's what I hear Joe Rogan says all the time. Like, surely this is evidence we're living in a simulation.
Like, because I mean, America itself, you've got one guy who's like dead asleep at the wheel, like got Alzheimer's. Like, it's actually kind of like abuse on the guy. Like, Biden's clearly not with it, and he's supposed to be the leader of the free world. And then you've got like this ex kind of like movie guy, Trump, you're fired. Yeah. And like Trump's like. I mean, he's definitely with it mentally, but he's not perfect candidate, is he? So you've got these two people that most people could definitely find better. You can find a more reasonable person on both sides, and surely that would solve a lot of the issues. But instead, they just put these two people up that most people have a hard time dealing with, and it's just.
And Trump's so polarizing that I think the reason people vote for Biden is because they're just voting anti-Trump.
Yes.
They're like, they don't want to vote for Trump, so they vote for Biden.
And I think a lot of people were like that back with Clinton when she was the nominee and against Trump, and it was like people just didn't want to vote for Clinton.
Yeah, she came across so evil way. I don't know why, but maybe it's just my algorithm and stuff that I get, but she came across as pretty evil to me.
Well, and I think, there's those clips of her laughing about like how they bombed like Syria and stuff and Baghdad, and she's like, we came and we went and all that stuff. And I think she was also a symbol of the state of like the government, and so Trump almost signaled, I think, to some people he's an outsider, like he's going to change things, and then things didn't really change to him, and it's like. Oh, the state of the world, mate. It's just
hard out.
It's weird.
But even us talking about all this, we're going to be labelled as like Trump fans, Hunter, anti-Firearm Registry. I actually think you legit might be on the government watch list, because of that post that you did in the thing.
Well, I sent them. I decided against sending them my full-on article. But I like summarized it in points and I sent it to them, and then they sent me an email one time, like probably like a full 6 weeks after I'd actually complied, and like there's kind of no need for it, but it was like the email was like, your notes have been taken into consideration or something like that, and I was just like,
so it's been filed in the background or something.
Oh, that's what I was like. Damn, I guess you're telling me that you've considered it, like at least maybe they genuinely considered it. But I got the impression it was like, damn, like you've been added to some sort of...
I'm lucky because I haven't registered yet or done anything. I'm just holding out because I haven't gone through any triggering events. But when that happens, if it happens, I'm hoping to get scrapped before then, but I might just send them the same shit that you sent.
Yeah.
Because then at least there's more people adding to the pile, right? And they might have to file those notes too.
Yeah.
And then it's like the people standing up, I guess, against the government.
Yeah. Half standing up. We still comply,
Yeah. Well, I haven't complied yet, but just you.
But I don't know. My brother wanted me to do it go through kind of the parliamentary side, which like I could do, is like demand our MP's Chris Bishop, and it's like I could go through all that. And that was one of the reasons which allowed me to comply, because I was like, I can do that. But I haven't done anything on that, It's just like it's just so hard.
It goes back to like taking up a lot of your time,
right? And I'm pretty pushed for time. I try to do quite a lot as it is, and it's like sometimes it's demotivating. And Fauci's getting what he wants, All
right, I reckon this topic leads in well to our next one, which is prepping for end of the world. It's more of a fun topic, but. Say, theoretical example, there's like a collapse of society. Obviously, there's some events where, like one of the boys said, what if the sun explodes? It's like, obviously, we're all just going to be dead.
Probably going anyway.
But let's say there's a collapse of society. What do you think is important to have prepared for if that happens?
Yeah, well, as you say, like it is a fun topic. I can see myself going very deep into these, but I haven't. I've gone a little bit deep, and I've read a couple books. there's a couple things that I think are must-haves. Obviously, water, some sort of preserved food, which I think we might get into is preserving food, because it can make food last. Obviously.
Well, let's start on water. So how much water do you think you would need?
Well, I think they say, isn't it like 22 litres or something of water per person per week is like a minimum. Like, obviously, you drink quite a lot of water and you're in that creatine buzz.
Well, I'm like literally 7 to 8 litres a day. Wow. But obviously, if it was dire times, I'd have to restrict that majorly.
Yeah.
Jump off the creatine.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you would necessarily, like, it's probably only going to need, like, for the world to come back into working order. Let's say, like, I think the most realistic thing is a world war. Like, we just breaks out. We end up siding with America against China, and then something like I would attack our power grids and stuff like that, and it's like, boom, our power goes out. That's probably the most realistic, or a natural disaster could cause that. All of a sudden, we're probably going to be, you're going to think that society will kind of get back working order within a week, I think, maybe 2 weeks. And so I think that's the main time frame you have to be able to live. And I think you're in the same position where I could, like, to me, I've been wanting to make sure my parents are all right, and I live in one room, they're in a lower hut. I could scale that hill, I could go check on them. But like things like, obviously, water, how much we need, but like radios, some way to communicate, is another good one that people should get. Food, preserved stuff, and then medical stuff, like things from even just toothpaste, soaps, to like just your medication, like how much backup do you have? Like if you're a diabetic, you might, like if you've got no way of cooling your insulin, like some people have actually designed solar kind of chili bins designed for insulin, so that you can actually go to your doctor and ask, I'd like to have 6 months supply of insulin, and they might give it to you depending on your doctor, and as long as you have a way to cool it, you've at least, in an emergency, you're not just screwed.
Well, it'd be the same as antibiotics, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think they're not going to give you antibiotics.
No, but I've allegedly got
secured a few.
A stash.
Yeah. See,
allegedly.
They do recommend doing that, but then you've got to keep in mind that they slowly get weaker over time. So you might.
But it's definitely better than nothing, right? I mean, if you got a staph infection, which killed a lot of people back in the day, nowadays you just jump on antibiotics, it's fixed. But imagine you didn't have that option. You'd be in serious trouble. For sure. No, it's a great idea if you can slowly accumulate those sort of things. Asthma inhalers, whatever your medical kind of health issue is. How much water do we need? It looks like you got a bit of notes here. So yeah, I've got a few notes. I personally have about 60 litres at the moment, which is pure drinkable water, which I understand is nowhere near enough. I want to get to the level of like having an outdoor water tank that collects rainwater. It's weird one though, because in New Zealand, like, it's pretty wet here, right? I wouldn't say we are very short of water. No. Sometimes in the summer. Yeah. But we could scale this Wainui Hill and there's streams running. Yeah, I can literally hear a stream out there right now. Yeah. So it's not, that wouldn't be probably the most essential item. But say in a situation where it was and I had a water tank, well then all of a sudden it would be security. It's like, how do I secure my property? Yeah. And that's where I guess owning firearms would be good for definitely. But you just don't want to worry with that shit. Like, you don't want to. You can't man this house by yourself. I get what you mean. Yeah, like it's not practical. If we're getting low on supplies, I had to go out hunting. That would be like the time for people to come and invade. Yeah, that's when you've got to have this love thy neighbour. You got to have good neighbours and shit, and you can almost create a little village. And I think that's almost how human beings were supposed to live anyway, like close with your neighbours. But I definitely fully agree with that. However, if we're talking like proper end of the world, it's like family comes first. Yeah. And talking to my parents last night because they've got family friends that are pretty hard out into it.
Oh, bro.
So they were saying, so they have full-on water tanks. They have off-storage supply where they can go survive if someone burns their house down.
Wow.
So if someone burns their house down, they still have pads.
They're balls into it.
Yeah, they have like,
balls deep.
They own like a shitload of land. But they were saying, because my mum was joking, oh, like, you know, if anything bad happens, we'll just come around to yours. And they're like, absolutely not. Like, no one's coming around to us. No friends, nothing. It's like, this is for us, for our family.
Wow.
And then like he's like a hard old man, and he'd be like, probably I'll shoot you if you come around, and you know.
True. Wow.
I feel like he's just saying that, but maybe if it actually came to it and they had enough supplies, I'm sure they would share with their friends and family.
Well, I mean, what's good is life if you can't share it with your friends and family? You know?
Exactly.
And that would be kind of sad. Like, and you get bored if you're just living, you and your wife. You know, I think like for 10 years, after society's collapse, like it's not going to be that fun of a life.
I don't know. I reckon if you had your family and kids, it would be fine. But another thing on that is you've been getting into preserving a little bit. Your old man's right into it, eh?
Yeah, we grew up, always had like a jar of pickled onions in the cupboard, and froth me my pickled onions. I love it. It's kind of my treat actually. Most days I'll get home and I'll cut myself a bit of like brie, and I'll have pickled onion and I'll slice it up, and I'll just like no crackers, just cheese and pickled onion. And I do like preserving. It's the same sort of I think reward systems as like hunting and stuff like that, and it feels right for me. And like I've spun my yarn at making yogurt, and like that's a similar sort of thing. Fermenting foods. I've tried. I made a sourdough, and I had a mother going for a week, and I made a couple loaves, and like that was awesome. And I'd love to get to the point where, like, you know, and I was giving you yogurt. It's like if you were then giving me back fucking sourdough, or you know, I had a friend around the corner and make sauerkraut, or obviously I got pickled onions, and like it's just a little community of like exchanging things, you know. Like I give JV's got a lot of venison, I'm assuming, so like I could give him some, you know, preserved stuff or something like that. And obviously the best part with the preserved food, and I looked into it for preserving meat, and that is how you can preserve meat, is obviously you can smoke it, which is a rabbit hole I will one day go down. But you can do the pickling of meat, and so like you cut up chunks of meat, and similar to pickled onions, you pickle it and using a more acidic kind of ferment to protect and give longevity to the meat. And it's like maybe not their meat is that like I don't think people hear pickled meat and they think it probably doesn't taste that great, but like if you're in a disaster and you've got some meat hanging around, you're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I reckon if you're hungry enough, you can enjoy most things.
I think it'll taste amazing, and I think we've both had that. And I think anyone that's been out on a hike and you spend a day kind of just really working hard, you could eat anything, and like your body's just finally getting some fuel, and it's like it feels good.
Well, especially if all you've been eating is like that backcountry muck, then you're like the whole last day you're just thinking, I can't wait to get out. And have like
you can start fascinating over food. Yeah, no, you're right, and it does. Yeah, it's one of the pleasures as well as refeeding like that. And
could you imagine in the world scenario, you're like desperate for food? You like break into a restaurant or something, and there's just like seed oils everywhere. You're like, got to drink it, Paddy.
Get those calories.
Yeah, I still don't think I'd do it.
I don't think I'd drink seed oils, to be honest.
Well, there's like Twinkies, you know, in that Zombieland movie. It's just on the hunt for Twinkies. They're just like full of every single bad ingredient you can think of.
Yeah, so many. Like, yeah, it's like 50 ingredients, whatever, and it's synthetic rubbish. Yeah, if we want to know why we're unhealthier, it's eating all the processed rubbish.
Exactly. And well, lately we've both been trying to get into drinking raw milk as well, right?
That's another one.
And that's a interesting rabbit hole, because I think most people don't even consider it,
as an option. Yeah.
They just see normal milk as like blue top milk in the supermarket, but it's far from normal, really, because it's pasteurized, which means it's heat treated, and then it's homogenized,
which is spun really fast.
Yeah, to break down all the fat particles.
Yeah,
which is just not. It's just not natural, and then your body can't process it, which is why so many people are lactose intolerant. So yeah, that raw milk buzz.
You're on hard, eh? And you've been going through some cool little, because I've only done it once, where you go to the vending machine and you get your glass bottle and you put it on and you pay for it and you press your button, and it's quite cool. You've had quite a few missions and adventures.
Raw milk adventures. Yeah. I'm lucky because I'm down south every week for work, so I'm always in a new part of the island, and there's obviously a lot of farms down south, so I get to go check them all out. But it is cool. Some of them you can literally see the cows, like 20 meters away.
That's awesome.
And they're just, most of them are out in the paddocks and stuff, so it's good to have that natural raw milk.
Yeah.
And people get scared that you're going to get sick and all that. I haven't got sick yet.
No.
And I just get all the benefits from it.
And even anyone who drinks it, they're most like, they're die hard, like I just always like talking to strangers. And I was at the raw milk place, and while I was there, I think there was like 5 different people came and went. And I was just talking to the lady who owns it, and like she was just like frothing, I'll get you into raw milk, and I'm just talking about it. And it's raw milk's like, it tastes good, man. It's so creamy. And like people talk about how, I'd say most people would agree with the statement that processed foods are bad for you, right? But everyone drinks milk that's processed, right? And
the thing is, I wouldn't say the pasteurized milk is bad for you though.
No, neither would I.
But it's just not as good as unprocessed.
Yeah, well, because it's been processed, like it's the whole like antibiotics. Like it kills. You take an antibiotic, it kills the bad bacteria, but there's also a downside where it kills your good bacteria as well. And that heating up is designed to kill the possible bad bacteria from multiplying, and that would make people sick from drinking raw milk. But it's also going to kill the good bacteria, right? And that's where people with raw milk talk about the lactase. And so it kills the lactase, which helps humans digest the dairy, and that would stop someone from getting lactose intolerant and things. And there's a lot of, I'd say, I was trying to deep dive into the micronutrients of raw milk and the differences, and I couldn't find an actual study that listed the differences in the micronutrients. But I got to imagine that after you have a product, you heat it up to boiling or near boiling, and then you spin it really quickly. You got to imagine that some of the micronutrients is damaged.
100%.
And I think you're the same, as like I want the healthiest shit, and I'm these raw milk people, because there's a lot of loops I've got to go through to sell raw milk, and it seems like it's pretty safe. It's as safe as you can, and just don't get silly and don't leave it in the fridge for over probably a week, 10 days.
Well, the key is to not get it contaminated, right? And I've been doing a bit more research into it, and I actually think what the NZ government set up is pretty good. So they have really strict rules on the suppliers of raw milk.
Yep.
But it means that if you're going to buy raw milk from that farm, that it's not going to be contaminated, because they have to follow these like super strict rules. Okay. I think they do testing every couple of weeks on awesome. The product. Yeah.
And so that's to me, that's the government regulating being fantastic, right?
Yep.
And now we can kind of trust that when we go and buy our raw milk, it's going to be make us sick.
It's still a weird balance though, because I wish it was easier to get. It's still very hard to get.
Yeah.
And then you look at places like Australia, where I think it's just illegal full stop to sell raw milk. But I've been obviously trying to convince all the boys, so they've all been on the hunt. And Danny this week found a spot in Brisbane.
True.
So they sell raw milk, get this right, in the supermarket in 2-litre things.
But it's for animals or something.
No, it's to bathe in.
True.
So apparently it's like it's called Cleopatra's raw milk. So back in the day, supposedly Cleopatra used to bathe in raw milk, and it gave her nice skin. So they say this is not to consume. This is to bathe in. But everyone buys it to drink.
Wow.
So it's like the boys have found it, now they're on the raw milk buzz.
Wow. That's incredible.
But apparently it's super popular. That loophole I hope doesn't get shut down. But I mean, you should give the people what they want, right? Like you say, if we're private citizens, we should, if we know that there's maybe a little more risk to buying raw milk, that it's on us to decide if we want to go ahead with that choice.
I think so.
It's not on someone else to tell me what to do.
Well, this to me would bring us to folic acid, because it's the same sort of thing, where they put in folic acid as an essential nutrient, or folate is an essential nutrient, and folic acid is the synthetic man-made version of it. And the reason we need that is because, well, the reason they need the synthetic version is if they're to put natural folate into, say, bread, the sunlight exposure will kill it and it won't last. So they have to use this synthetic version. And then the reason they put it in there is to reduce harmful, neural tube defects is a big one. And so minority groups typically don't have a healthier diet. And so when they don't have a healthier diet, they're more likely to end up with neural tube defects. And so this fortification of foods that are commonly eaten by everyone is a way to get fortified folic acid into these minority groups. The problem for me when it comes is, well, I eat a great diet, and there's evidence to show that at least 60% of people might be unable to metabolize the synthetic version of folate. And the evidence isn't clear that that's particularly harmful, but that there is a build-up in the liver of unmetabolized folic acid. And I don't know about you, but I don't want no unmetabolized folic acid in my liver. Just because the evidence doesn't show that it's particularly harmful just yet doesn't mean that it is.
I've seen studies that show it is harmful in ways that it increases like your anxiety and like your mood and stuff like that, and
mental stuff.
Yeah, and it can cause depression and stuff as well. Which I mean, is a bold claim, but Gary Brick has talked about it, that he thinks a lot of the postnatal depression in females after birth
could be folic acid related.
Because so you said 60%, I've seen it as 40%, but even let's say it's 40%, that's still a high number.
Well, it's because we've got two genes. We've got one from our mum, one from our dad. And so it ends up like making the percentage bigger. Like, so you're more likely to, like most people will have at least one kind of thing. If that makes sense.
So it can be dominant. I wonder if it's a dominant gene.
I think you just have two parts that die, metabolize it, and it's like you have most people seem to have one that cannot digest folic acid, but they can still somewhat digest it, whereas some people will be born and they have unable, and yet our food must be fortified. Our bread must be any flour made for baking.
And fortified or enriched, all that means is they've put folic acid in it.
Yeah.
And if you have the gene that we're talking about is the MTHFR gene,
which is short for motherfucker gene.
The motherfucker gene, because it's not good.
Appropriately named.
Then say you're one of the 40% of people that have that gene, then your body can't break down folic acid, which starts to become a problem, right?
Well, I think so. You've now got a nutrient that's synthetic, man-made, that it's just floating around in your body. Like, I don't want that.
And the NZ government have made it mandatory to put it in all the bread supply in New Zealand.
Yes.
So any bakery or supermarket that makes a loaf of bread has folic acid in it.
You can't even buy like a sourdough bread that doesn't have folic acid. And to me, that's not fair, because I should have the choice to be able to buy bread that, especially that's not standard bread. Like, you can understand that the benefits for minority groups that are going to just buy white loaf bread. But like, why can't we have the higher end bread, like a bakery bread, a bakery loaf? Why can't that be like non-fortified if they choose to?
I agree.
And then I have now the option to buy bread that's not going to give me unmetabolized folic acid.
I think there is an option to do that. I think you can go and buy an expensive organic loaf of bread.
Well, I'm just from the supermarket is like the nice loaves of breads. They're all full of folic acid.
Yeah, supermarket's a no-go.
And it's like, it's just real frustrating, because it's like, I feel like I'm a person, and I should get the test done, but I feel like I don't have a good ability to digest folic acid, and I would love to be consuming more bread, and I feel like I shouldn't be, And then the other part of it is how doctors, I've got a friend who when I saw their doctor, let them know they were pregnant, and they're just recommending folic acid, and
that friend is me. So when I got into this ages ago, I was doing heaps of study on it, and I saw that so folic acid is a synthetic version of methyl folate. Methyl folate is the the actual...
The
natural version of folate. So you can buy supplements called methylfolate that your body can process.
Everyone can absorb.
Even if you have the MTHFR gene. And it was crazy, man. I went around to like 10 different pharmacies in New Zealand asking the pharmacist, do you sell methylfolate? They all look at me having no idea what that even is.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, why would you want that? Like, here, have this. This is folic acid. I'm like, I don't want folic acid. I want methylfolate. And then they're like, start pestering me. Why? And then I just started being like, I've got the MTHFR gene. That's why. And they're like, oh. And then they go like type it in their system. And then like it actually comes up and they're like, shocked.
True.
But it's like, why?
And here they are recommending it to everyone.
Yeah, but it's like, why does no one know about this? And they're meant to be the professionals, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. And it makes you, and again, this kind of comes back to that whole, like, we're trying to be healthy. We have to put in so much time to try and be that high level healthy. And it's hard. And like most people just don't do it. And like it should be the easiest way should be the healthiest, I think.
It's a weird one because especially when it comes to like, a pregnant woman, I am aware that I can sometimes go down rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to like...
me too, bro. Yeah,
when it comes to like my child, I'm like extra cautious. I'm like, fuck, am I just going down a rabbit hole? Like I would hate to...
Am I being safe or am I going too far?
I would hate to not give them something because I've just gone down a rabbit hole, but then it, hurts the life of my child.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of research and I did come to the conclusion, I don't want to give my partner folic acid. I would way rather her have methylfolate. And she came to the conclusion of that as well, which is what we did. But yeah, it is just scary. I don't trust, it just comes back to the trust of the government. I can't trust them because when you look at society and how sick everyone is, it's like, okay, if I just follow like a sheep, this is what I'm going to turn into. It's like, or I have to do the opposite and be a critical thinker for myself.
Yeah.
And look out for me and my family.
Yeah. And then the balance is how hard do you go, and I think some of our friends would look at us as going too hard in particular areas, but I think we both look at it in certain ways of like, why would I add, like, sure, I'm going to be getting some toxins here and there and like this thing's unavoidable, but these things here I can control, like it's like cooking with a cast iron pan, for example, as opposed to a non-stick. Non-stick is just covered in chemicals to try and be non-stick, like Teflon. And it's like, this is a forever chemical that once gets into your body, it doesn't leave. It's like, why would I want that? Like, I can just make the change of cooking in a cast iron pan, slightly harder to clean, but is it really? I mean, I'm cleaning it fine, but, and it's like, that's a small change that's easy, everyone could do, but I feel like almost like my flatmates or my parents will think I'm kind of going over the top, and it's like...
Yeah, and a lot of people, I guess, it just comes back to being a critical thinker, is they'll be like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, what do you mean? Like
everyone does it.
Yeah, well, like the label says, you can do
safe,
this.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, of course the label says that because that's the company trying
they
to
needed
advertise.
They needed to be safe so they can sell it.
Exactly.
And that's like, no one has our health as important to us as we do. Whereas the companies, at the end of the day, especially like in America, it's just money. And it's like health and safety is like just a loop that they've got to go through. And as long as I think the thing like a Teflon pan isn't like just dropping people like flies, like it's okay, they can get away with it. And that's what, it's just, I don't want to, I can't trust these companies. I don't feel like I can, and I don't feel like our governmental regulators are like onto it enough, because look, they've dived into folic acid and obviously with raw milk, and it sounds like in your head you feel like they've come to a good conclusion with raw milk, right? With folic acid, I feel like there's no doubt in any of the research that methylfolate is supreme to folic acid, like it's the healthier version. So why isn't the common doctor recommending methylfolate?
Yeah, I guess
it just doesn't make sense.
And it probably comes back to, it's almost no fault of the doctor, but I bet you they don't get taught that.
No.
So it's the education piece.
No, and it's easy to hate your doctor, but it's like they've got how many people? They've probably got like 500,000 like people that they're like under their care. They're just a general doctor of just like general health guidelines. That's what they're doing. general GP, and it's like you can't expect them to be up to date with everything. Like it'd be a tremendously hard job.
I would love to talk to Jeff about it. To be fair, just because it sounds like he's quite open-minded, about these things.
So Jeff's my mate. He's a doctor, and like it's actually he's a good fella, and I particularly one reason why I've grown to like him a bit more recently is because he knows that I have a tendency to go down these rabbit holes. I know that, but he doesn't just like roll his eyes and be like, "No, I don't want to hear it." Like, fuck. He'll actually have the discussions and genuine discussions, and then it's genuine, and I know it's genuine because I can see him. Like he'll admit like some things are not right, and he'll admit these things, and I think I'd love to hear what you guys were talking about, because he'd have to do a deep dive so that he's educated, and he would, and I would be curious. I'd be keen to see if he'd arrive at the same conclusion.
Well, I feel like that's that thing we spoke about. As long as you go into it with an open mind, both parties with an open mind, hopefully you can both take away something from it. Bro. Like he might pull us out of a rabbit hole, and being like, bro, you're just going a bit too far down this rabbit hole. Yeah, like that's not the intention, and this and that he's learned. And it's like, okay, that makes sense.
And he'll be able to give you justified reasons, and like at the end of the day, I want to be right, but it's like I think I am right, and I think I am going like caring about these issues to the right degree, and that's why I'm living this way. Like it's. And I wouldn't mind. It's not going to hurt my ego too much for him to be like, no, you're wrong here. This is why, and then we can debate that, Yeah. And that's kind of, it's debates I've kind of almost been having with my brother as well, is because Jeff is a doctor, he's got more, like he's been trained to realize certain things. And like, so when I'm doing deep dives on folic acid and stuff, it's easy to start like, well, this article here, this is saying this is exactly like folic acid is bad, but it's like there's levels of valuable studies, and realizing that a randomized clinical trial is far better than a study on rats, like there's levels to these studies, and like that's something that a doctor is trained to realize, and whereas the layperson like me and myself could make that mistake and be like, all these studies, study after study saying this. But it's like, but it hasn't been gone to the human level yet, or and so it's good for me to learn those things to make sure that, I'm not just rabbit holing,
But the other dodgy thing you have to watch out for with that is those big pharma companies, they can do 100 studies and then choose to only publish the 20 that suits their agenda, right?
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. They don't even have to release the whole study. So, like Pfizer, and this is we're going into all this shit.
Here we go.
So Pfizer, they do a study, right, and they'll find out any sort of vaccine, any sort of medicine, and they can make a claim. They'll say this thing is healthy, this thing is now better, it's going to help people. And then it gets peer reviewed as it's supposed to, but they can choose what to include in their peer reviewer. So the peer reviewers don't even get access to the whole article, the whole study. So they can remove tables, they can remove data. And they have been sued for the massive fine in history for doing precisely that and manipulating the data. But like the fact that they can even do that, right? And everyone wants to look at America and be like, wow, it's America's problem. It's like the rest of the world follows America and the guidelines follow America, and like it ends up affecting us. And man, it's a rabbit hole in itself. And there's so many. I don't think anyone would claim that there's not problems with Big Pharma. But man, it's so corrupt. It's so cooked. It's all just money making, and
I would say we actually follow America quite a bit when it comes to health.
Because it feels like we're the closer country, eh?
Yeah, because America fortifies and enriches all their products as well. Their rice and everything is all pumped with folic acid. Now we do that.
True.
Artificial food dyes, which is a thing that I've been studying, really bad for you, like especially shit like Red 40.
Yeah.
In New Zealand, it's called Allura Red. It's code 129. So avoid that if it's in your Red Powerade, which it is.
Yeah.
Don't drink that shit. Real bad for kids, causes like ADHD, It can cause anxiety, all this bad stuff. Anyway, a lot of European countries have banned it. It's like illegal in Europe.
True.
But then over here, it's not. And it's still in all our shit. I have noticed recently a lot more products saying no artificial colours or flavours. So it's definitely like a no-no on my list. I always avoid those artificial colours.
Yeah. Because you love your sweets, so your lollies and
those
stuff.
sugar-coated lies.
So we should shout out on Natural Confectionery because they do use natural colours and flavours rather than Rab 40.
Exactly. But that's just a classic where I guess we follow America.
And how many other situations are like that we're just not aware of. And that's, most people live busy lives, so it's like that's the whole point of your health regulators and your systems, is they're supposed to be spending the time on those things, realizing that they're harmful and making sure they're not in our food.
And then if you go back to like say a red Powerade, so look at how they promote that with like the All Blacks or some professional sports team drinking Powerade.
Yep. Same happens with Prime, to be fair, with the...
But I'm telling you, like, for anyone listening, do the research into Red 40, or, Allura Red is what it's called in New Zealand, but Red 40 will be all the studies. And I'm telling you, you'll come to the conclusion that it is not good for you. And they're promoting it as like, this is what the All Blacks drink and all this shit, but that's just standard marketing for you to buy the product.
Yeah.
So you don't need that.
And I mean, I think this is the larger problem, is it's all just money making, The All Blacks win there because they get money to pay their athletes and look after their families and all the rest of it. Powerade makes money; they sell more Powerade, right? And consumers think they're winning; they think they're drinking what the All Blacks are drinking, but the chances the All Blacks actually drinking Powerade is pretty low.
Who knows though? I feel like just sticking up for the All Blacks here, they probably don't know any better. They're professional rugby players. They're just like, we're paying you this much to sponsor our sports
nutritionists
drink.
They'll be drinking.
Yeah, and they're like, I'll do an ad for a Powerade. Like, why not?
For sure. And like they probably like Powerade. Like I like a Powerade. I used to take them in the bush with me. Some Powerades, I still think Powerades is not terrible for you. It's just more, it's still full of sugar, and I mean, when you're out in the bush, that you do need that. Athletes need that. That's like a larger problem with Prime, is it's designed it's marketed as a sports drink, like the UFC and all the rest of it. And it doesn't have any sugar in it. It's got no glucose. Like
but you don't necessarily need sugar though for an electrolyte drink. You just need
it's one of the primary electrolytes.
No, but you need potassium, magnesium, and glucose. Sodium.
Yeah, but then you need glucose.
I don't think you need glucose though.
Well, you do, because that's what you're burning.
But what if you're a carnivore?
Energy. That's what you need.
What if you're a carnivore? And you just eat.
Well, if you're keto, what's the word? If you're in permanent ketosis, sure, but most people will not be in permanent ketosis.
Yeah, I'm not saying you don't need.
You need. That's a recovery.
I don't think you need sugar. That's what I'm trying to come across as. My electrolytes are just full of magnesium, potassium, and sodium, which are 3 key electrolytes your body needs.
But if you need, say, you're on a hike and you're exhausted. You need you should be consuming some sugar as well. You need, it'll be that, it's energy. It's going to help you move. Glucose is that's why our bodies eat up glucose, and any sort of sugar it's purely metabolized very easy and very quickly.
It's like a fast burning.
Exactly. And so people who are I'd say athletes who need a bit of energy, you're going to want some sugar as a part of your electrolyte drink.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I just think you don't need it. It depends on the type of exercise you're doing. If I'm training combat sports, I would say you definitely do need it because it's high level intensity.
Which is what I'm thinking, and that's why I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
I'm more thinking rugby, any sports, I'd say.
Right. I was thinking Jocko rucksack, just tramping along for a day, slow burning.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're training for and stuff. I think. I don't feel bad about consuming sugar in the hills because I feel like it's one of the. I'm sure it is. We're gonna have to find this out afterwards, but I'm sure it is. It's one of your electrolytes. You're gonna want it.
Yeah, I don't think it is an electrolyte because I've done a bit of study on it. What you sweat out is potassium, magnesium, and sodium.
Yeah.
And so you can buy 0 sugar Powerades, which have those 3 electrolytes in them.
Maybe I'm conflating a little bit, but the idea of recovery and what you need during exercise And one of the things you need during exercise is glucose.
Well, I think
fuel.
You probably do need glucose, but it would just fall under like nutrition rather than as a essential electrolyte.
Maybe that's what's happened, but
I may be wrong. This is where we need Dill to pull it up.
Yeah.
Prove one of us wrong.
But I mean, we'll be able to find that out for future claims. But no, it's as overall, just with the medical industry, it's just it does seem very profit driven, and it doesn't seem like they have our best interests at heart in a lot of things.
I agree. We're gonna pause. I'm gonna take a piss. Alrighty, and we're back. I just want to get into a new topic now of your training. So you're currently training for a triathlon, is it?
Yeah, Ironman, cooler than just a triathlon.
Oh yeah, Ironman. When's that?
So a half Ironman. So a full Ironman distance is a 4K swim, or just under a 4K swim, 180K bike ride, and a full marathon, so 42K. And so the boys and I have, there's 4 of us, Alex Barber, Brett Stevenson, Jeff Evans, and myself, signed up to the Rotorua Suffer, which is an event it's designed for just half Ironman. And so obviously the distances are just half what I've just listed, and that is in December. I think it is the 19th. It's pretty close to Christmas and everything. And so we've still got a few more months to train. We all signed up about 4 or 5 months ago. And so we have been preparing for that. Everyone's like started bike riding more because, we're going to spend, I'm told a decent time that we could be happy with is about 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, which is
Are you doing total or on
total,
the bike? Yeah,
total. Right. So that's a long time to be moving, and probably about 3 to 4 hours will be on the bike, so we're going to do a lot of biking, and this biking's not easy. You think kind of it's just easy riding around, but prolonged biking, hurts your ass, man, like sitting on a seat a little, and you get those little kind of fabric seats.
I thought you'd be used to a sore ass.
No, mate, not enough, not as nearly as much as I'd like. So and then just getting the body used to that. And so I'm thinking I will ride Lake Taupo this year. And so that's 160K, which will be significantly more than the half. But because I'm training for the half and I want to beat the boys and I want to get better at biking, having that about a month out will be, I think, good preparation.
Yeah, it sounds like good prep for me.
So and now I've just got to ramp up. I've now gone online and I've recognised they've got all these events pretty cool where they've got just free training programs, real basic, but just kind of realising that I'm going to be putting basically I only have at least 3 hours. I've got about 14 weeks for Lake Taupo, and start my periodically kind of increase my training, start with 3 hours on the bike, and I should do that in say a 1 hour ride early in the week, and then a 2 hour ride later on, or 3 1 hours, and then build my hours up from 3, I think it's to 12 a week. So I'm just used to pedaling, and so I've got Jeff's old Dr. Jeff spent a bit extra and got a carbon fiber bike. So now it's
that doctor salary.
That doctor salary. So he's making. I'd hate to lose going in knowing it's just because he's got a fucking carbon fiber bike. So I might have to splurge out and get one myself, because I want to beat these guys. But I've been spending a lot of money on hunting gears and everything. As much as anyone, the ammunition costs, especially if you get problems with sighting in your rifle. And so I'm training for this half. Got my biking, and then swimming's always. I used to be a competitive swimmer, so I'm pretty good in the pool. I'm definitely going to beat the other 3. I don't want to be leading. And I've been training pretty hard in the pool because I tore the ligaments in my ankle at the start of the year. So obviously at R&V with my boys, got a bit drunk and silly, and So I completely tore the ligament. Basically, if you think of it like you've got 4 on your knee, the anterior one, so the ACL, that was completely torn for my ankle. And then the left side and the right side, the lady said they were very munched. Those were her words. So, so three of my 4 ligaments in my ankle were pretty destroyed. So I've been rehabbing that and just trying to increase the strength of my calves so they can help support that, which is going to make me a faster runner, which has always been my weak point. So the swimming, I've been doing a lot of swimming because it's easier on the body. So I've been able to do that for the last 4 months, and I'm back to my old competitive swimming kind of sets. I'm doing 12 100s on a minute 30, which that's what I remember doing as a kid. So I'm feeling pretty good in the pool, but I'm going to have to improve my running and stay on top of that, which I've started trying to build it in time wise per week of like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, and I'm trying to reduce that to 2 minutes on, 1 minute off. Unfortunately, the last time I went running, it brought pain in my ankle, but
it's brutal on the body, running.
Yeah, it is.
Brutal is the word I'd say.
It lets you know any issues, like running, it brings it up, and you just got to battle that. I'm not sure if that ever goes away, but I had some problem with my running on concrete a couple of years ago when I first got into running, and I went down to the beach and I was able to run on the beach, and because sand disperses, I would recommend it's a great opportunity for people to use the sand to run. It's like running in the water because you're not getting the full weight, that whole pain on your joints, and I built up my time from running from 4 minutes. It's all I could manage at the time, running on the sand, and I built that up from 6 minutes. From 6, I built it up to running an hour on the sand at Petone Beach, and then I was able to do some exterior events where I was running like 16k. And now I can before my injury, I could run on the road. And I think that's just a cool demonstration of how, if you listen to the body and train in certain ways, you can make mean progress. So overall, I'm training for that half. I'm still trying to stay decent at Jiu Jitsu, which has been a hobby of mine for the last couple of years. And obviously, Jiu Jitsu it's not a forgiving sport. If everyone else is training, then you're not training.
You get let behind though.
They're getting better, and those things like fitness, which half Ironman's going to help with. So it's not like I'm going to come back with with all my tools out, and shit. But it's always been my problem is trying to do too much, and then I think I end up putting myself in a position where I'm overtrained, and then I get injured. And then I can't do any of the stuff. So I'm just trying to be more selective with my training. And I know it hasn't been good for our jiu-jitsu for the boys. There's been a lot of numbers have been down in our jiu-jitsu group. So that's not ideal. And I know you were injured for a while there, and you're trying to come back. And so I feel like you're getting a little bit frustrated that our numbers are down. Kyle's starting a business.
Just for jits, I'm lucky or unlucky. I go down south every Wednesday for work, and Wednesdays when all the bad numbers have been, there've been no numbers coming training, but I'm down south training somewhere else anyway, so
you're able to get that in.
Exactly.
But it's better for, I think, when it's still better for you, I think, if we are training Wednesday, because we're all getting better Wednesday as well. You know what I mean?
I was going to ask you, tell me what you're like right now, your perfect training week is. All going well. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what I was doing before. So because of now, I've done a little bit of research and realised, okay, I am going to do Lake Taupo. I've realised that I'm going to have to do some more biking during the week. And then I was like, well, I've got this, I'm going to do a couple halves as preparation as well for running. So I've now looked at that, and I'm going to have to do some more running during the week. So keep in mind that I'm going to change. Well, maybe I'll do that. I'll just tell you what I was doing before that. So Monday would be jits and gym. So I go to the gym. So I'd weight train at the gym And I'm trying to, like, I care how I look, and that's one reason why I like the gym. I like progressing. Also want to be strong. It helps with Jiu Jitsu. It helps with how I feel. So I try to balance all of these things of the training for the half, going to the gym, and I'm also at the gym. I'm able to train like in an injury prevention way. Like I've started doing Nordic curls, and I want to be able to get single leg calf raises much stronger than what they are. My legs squatting, I can build strength for the bike and all of these things. So gym after work, and then I go to jiu-jitsu is kind of would have been typical, but I might have to replace that in kind of like riding for an hour and stuff like that. Tuesday, I think I'm going to have to do that as a legit rest day because of the rest of my schedule, which I'll show you. Then Wednesday, I would typically gym as well, and then I'm going to have to go for, typically it would be jiu-jitsu, but again, I might have to switch that to running. Thursday, I would typically gym, and then I would, like we used to back in the day, we had Shawnee's jiu-jitsu, but again, I think I'm going to do that. That's been my swim day for the longest time now, so Thursday I actually wouldn't gym, it's just straight in the pool. Friday would be another gym day, and then I would typically not do anything else afterwards, but I might have to incorporate some more, like maybe even just a little sprinting session, something like that, where I'm training a different system and still benefiting my running and stuff. Saturday, I don't know if I can go past old P-Town Jits. I do love Saturday morning. There's a great start to the day. It's doing some jiu-jitsu, 9 out in P-Town, Whitby, and then we come back, and it's that whole like come back in the car with the boys, and you're able to chat. Like it's
best way to start the day.
It's awesome, and the timing on it is also cool because it's like not your whole day gone. You know, you kind of come back, and the hut's kind of just waking up, and then you're like ready to go. So I love that. So I might try to do that, which is what I have been doing, and then I would then go for a long bike ride either Saturday or Sunday, and then so that would probably have to be Saturday, and I might get back into my Sunday running, and what I had been doing would be doing gym on Sunday. So it's a pretty full week, and I kind of need my weekends to get in like a long bike ride of 2-3 hours, and therefore my kind of rest day seems to be, I think I need to do it on Tuesday, because I typically seem to get into these modes where I just won't necessarily have rest days, and because it feels like it's like a wasted day in a way. I think you probably get the same way, but I do think rest days do help me, and even if like maintaining a weight. So I talked about with one of my goals this year is to be 85 kilos. And I feel like, man, I eat I have to eat at least 3,500 calories to just like maintain 80 kilos.
But was that your goal before you decided you were doing this half Ironman?
It was the goal at the start of the year. No, I think it was, it's as well.
Yeah, because
like that's me again trying to do everything.
That's pretty hard, bro. Like if you're doing those, long distance, like triathlon type stuff, it's going to be hard to maintain weight.
Yeah.
Especially because I wouldn't say that's your natural weight, right?
No, unfortunately not. My body, like, I swear I can just think about cardio and, like, I just, like, lose a kilo. Like, it's, like, my body just wants to be thin. But in saying that, my diet hasn't been, like, my diet's pretty clean, pretty good. But, like, my breakfast food, like, I'm not, like, I got into a routine where I was having a couple eggs, some kumara, and I'd have the sausage roll on the way to work. It was like, I needed to. The Rimatukas. It was like at 6 a.m.
The upper heart stop.
Yeah, upper heart. We're there like about 10 past 6, and it was like, boss buys us a coffee, and I grab a sausage roll. It was just became my week. Like it would be every couple of days, and then it was all of a sudden it was just every day. And then I'm just like, because I'm just like calories, and then I had my good like kind of rice and mince meal, which is a lot of calories. It's got sour cream, it's cheese if I can, and the avocados are ripe. I'm getting avocados. Try to have, but it was that on the way home this meal where I wasn't really eating until I kind of got near the gym, if I did sometimes. And so I felt like I was missing an opportunity to get calories in. And so had I been doing that, I think I might have been able to gain weight properly. So then I've now added in, I have this yogurt mixture, and I was going to have a can of tuna and stuff, and just kind of maybe alternate chicken and tuna.
Some biltong or something in there.
Yeah, well, biltong was expensive. I'd love to just have a pack a day, but you know what it's like.
It sounds like your training week, there is a lot of gym in there.
Well, it ends up being about 3 days.
Yeah. Well,
so which isn't like 3 to 4 if I do the Sunday, which I don't think is too much, but I enjoy the gym, and like I am trying to like maintain my weight, and if I don't gym, I do feel like like the weight drops quicker. And like something with Jiu Jitsu, although like the beauty of Jiu Jitsu is a smaller person can submit a bigger person. And that, I think we've all had that experience, and like that's an awesome experience when you realize like, oh, these big dudes, like if I get this fella tired, I can do whatever I want. I'll break all his limbs.
But if you get both the same skill level, the big guy's always going to win.
Yes, and so being stronger is like it's appealing for that. And so we've been Jeff, and we've got Jeff's brother Steve. We've been doing strength testing, so that was been a motivator at the gym. And that was great for us because it gives you another reason to go, like focus with the gym and stay motivated. And then we did another strength testing last week, although I was terribly sick, so I just watched, supported the boys. But Tom and Rick, Jeff and Steve's younger brother, came down, and it was cool. Rick was pretty strong, eh? Man, it's like that guy just gets off the couch and runs half marathon at like 4:30 pace, like, and then he was like squatting. He squatted 160, and he was
Natural
deadlifting
athlete,
like, bro, it was just crazy.
What was he benching?
He benched 90. He tried 92, I think, and he couldn't. And his like leg, keep hitting this bar, and his leg kind of shot out. But man, and that was cool. Like, so Steve had gone through a breakup, and he's on that hardcore Forbidden Pre. I love talking about the Forbidden Pre.
It's the best way to get over a breakup.
Best way. You've never had so much motivation, you know, and that's what it is you're so motivated because it's like basically if you get dumped, the person didn't want to be with you, and like that means you weren't good enough, you know, for them, which is a massive motivator, especially if you got feelings, you like them. And I've been through it, and Steve's, man, and he's now got 6-pack. Like he's run a half marathon. He's running every week, and his bench, he's like we joke about him being a powerlifter. Like he came to the gym. I think he'd been gymming for like 3-4 weeks, and he benched 97 kilos while he's at 78, right? So he's pretty light.
That's decent.
And then now he benched 110, and he's been training for like 3 months.
Sheesh.
And like,
what? And is he still sitting around 80?
He's lighter now. He's now 76.
Wow.
And his strength went up.
Yeah, that's good.
And like, I was blown away. And like, it's not like he's just like I can have a decent bench, but like he's got strong on the squats and he's strong on the deads. So it's really cool to see him like come a long way. And I was saying to him, I was like, the key, brother, is now in the next relationship is to not fall back to old ways.
100%. I've seen it with Blissy as well. He got in the Mad Forbidden Pre.
True.
But it was like I was proud of him that's what he did. Because you can go two routes. You can go get on the piss, have a cry every weekend, just like your life keep going downhill. Or you're like, nah, fuck it, I'm going to pick myself up.
And it's real. I look at it as it really is the only way, because why not? You can improve yourself. It is the path. And that pre, it does last, like it lasts months, you know, so it might even last years. Like,
hopefully it becomes a lifestyle, right?
And I think that's what happens for a lot of people.
I feel like that's the stage I'm at. I've been doing my routine for so long that it is my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have to change it at some point with combat sports, but staying healthy is definitely going to be my lifestyle forever.
Yeah, I think I'm locked in forever too.
Let's go.
Although it's funny, we talk about this, like Tom and I had a chat about how we want our kid to go through, like if we have sons, I want them to go through like a breakup where they're like dumb basically. Because it's like, yes.
Every man needs it,
right? And it's like, yes, now son, you shall like, succeed because you've now got it,
Yeah. I think it is important. I've heard Andrew Tate talk about it heaps, but I think it is important for every man to experience a heartbreak because it definitely grows you as a person.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. My training week, just thinking about yours, is quite different to yours, but it's because you have so much going on with all your running and swimming and biking that seems like a crazy amount of time it takes up in your schedule.
Especially the weekends with the long ones. So what's yours? Yeah,
well, I guess my perfect week, this week has been pretty perfect. I'll run you through what I did this week. Monday was work and then hit the gym straight after work. After that, Jiu Jitsu. The lights weren't on, but we just chucked the assist lights on. And
I love that sort of stuff.
Tuesday, striking after work. So, hour of boxing sparring, hour of Muay Thai sparring. Then me and Kyle had some MMA rounds.
Yeah,
so that
was
fun.
That was cool.
Wednesday I was down south, so I trained at Oceanside Jiu Jitsu. That was good, just drills and then sparring at the end. They did positional sparring as well, so that was fun. Thursday, leg day. Yeah. Legs at the gym.
That's unlike you, bro. Did you get some bench in as well?
Nah, no bench. So that was Monday. I've been trying because I haven't been gymming as much because I've been doing all my other training. So I'm trying to more just do upper body and then lower body.
Yeah.
So Thursday was legs, straight from the airport to the gym, did legs. Friday was Muay Thai, just Muay Thai sparring. Saturday was open mats. And then today I was meant to be going to do some bench actually. But my gym partner bailed on me. I might still go and hit a sauna or something.
I'll probably end up going to the gym. Although that's reminded me, I usually try and do one yoga a week as well.
Oh, true. Bit of stretching and stuff.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, we all know we should be stretching more and stuff like that. But, like, it's easy to be like, I don't know if you get the same experience, but I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll stretch while I'll, like, watch some, like, TV on. I'll do some foam rolling. But it's like, it never happens, you know?
My old man used to be real good at that.
True.
He would stretch while watching TV.
Well, that's cool to see, and like, because your old man's in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
How old is he, if you don't mind me?
55 or 6 or something. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like when we went out mountain biking, we were struggling to keep up with him.
Honestly, I find it real inspiring because it's like, I feel like a lot of people when they become dads, it's like, fitness, now just don't, you don't have to look after yourself almost.
I've definitely taken after him, mate. It's like the classic, your dad is your role model, right? Mm-hmm. And I grew up always doing something. Like he would have taekwondo on one night, football on the next night, then
this
repeat.
Is full as like, yeah, that's cool.
Full days every week. And now that is my lifestyle. It's like I have to be doing something.
See, where I feel like my parents, my dad just sacrificed for me. Like he was getting up at, 5 o'clock to take me to the swimming pool, and then he'd go to work. And like,
you're saying he sacrificed his workout or
no, maybe his workout, but it was definitely his time.
Yeah.
And then he'd be, picking me up from, in the later years I'd train and stuff, but he'd be picking me up from swimming lessons. Like my parents.
But that's awesome.
One of those ones you take for granted.
Yeah. That's admirable. That's the admirable thing to do as a father, right? It's like you have to sacrifice for your kids.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like I work pretty hard, but it's like, I don't even have kids. Like, how the fuck am I going to fit in children in this?
Well, that's the stage of life I'm at.
Yeah, it is.
Like, lately my schedule has been non-stop, Like, no spare time at all. And I almost feel like I'm doing that because I know the kid's coming and it's like all this shit is going to have to change. So I'm just squeezing as much as I can for now.
You're making sure you can get as much out of it as you can.
Yeah, like there's no way I'm going to be able to go to work, straight after work, go to the gym, and then the gym to Jiu Jitsu, and then get home at like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Like when I have a kid, I'm just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, so how do you think it's going to change?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Exactly. I'm going to have to make sacrifices, right? And I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Clearly I'm not going to be able to train as often, not be able to go out hunting as often. But I'm sure I'll be able to find a good balance. Maybe the key is to become the top G and, have Comes back to finance, bro. Like if I didn't have to work 7 to 4:30 every day, I'd have so much time to do everything.
Yeah, bro. It does come back. And that's where, like, I'd been working out in Martinborough. Just seemed to have finished that. And it was, like, I had to be at the boss's, so in Upper Hutt at 6 a.m. And then we'd be leaving Martinborough at 4, probably 4:30 half the time. And it's like, I get back to the hut 5:30, 6. Like, it's like, then I start training, and it's like training. If I would gym and then go to Jiu Jitsu, it's like, I'm getting home at 8:30 now. I got to cook dinner. Like, and then
you
it's
gotta
like,
get yourself a missus, right? That might help.
Yeah. So, So I mean, it's trying to do so much, and it's only so many hours, and then it's like I'm trying to dive into these things and like be passionate about this stuff as well, and it's just, man, it's not easy. And as you say, bro, if you have your finances done, it frees you up to do more what you want to do.
Just takes a bit of pressure off your shoulders.
Which is ultimately, I think, isn't it what everyone wants? Like, I want to get paid to what I want to do, basically. Get paid for what I'd actually choose to do.
But I also think what we were talking about, staying busy, all this shit, I think it's just, this might be traditional sounding, but it's just the life of a man. That's how it should be. There should be pressures on you. It's
supposed to be hard.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think it's...
Yeah.
Anything, what's the saying? Like, anything good worth pursuing is... Yeah,
it's hard,
Yeah, you got to put in a bit of hardship for it,
If 6-packs were easy, everyone would have a 6-pack.
And then they wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
But it's like when you see some guy in good shape, it's like, it's respect, because it's like, he's putting in the work, Same with any sort of physical endeavor, and I think that's why men especially are driven to do hard things, and a hard thing for me this year is the half Ironman and stuff, and or for us has been in the past for you to compete at a kickboxing fight, do jiu-jitsu competitions. Fucking win some golds.
Yeah, it's rewarding, right? Because it's the hard work paying off.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good feeling.
It's the test too, right? It's the test. And we've got a lot of mates who are on the paths in their own ways, who are achieving things, and it's awesome to see. And I think hunting is also a bit of that as well, in terms of just like, it's hard, man. And when you carried out your venison, you said like your quads gave out and stuff.
Yeah. It was a crazy feeling, because I gym and train all the time, and that hasn't happened to me in a very long time. But it's like my body was literally shutting down as I was trying to walk out.
And you face those demons, eh?
Well, I was facing those demons, and like I was pushing through them, but I literally got to a point where like I collapsed in the bush because my quads were like full on cramping. So I was like, holy shit, had to like take my pack off, like just have a bit of a rest,
get some glucose.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I hear you,
put
bro.
Some electrolytes back.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I carried on.
And like, because we've both been on a couple solo hunts, is like you get more of that own personal kind of demons, and like, you like, I think we both took music with us. So you had ability to listen to podcasts. Like, I took my headphones. I think you said you did too.
Yeah, I only did for nighttime though. I wasn't during the day.
Okay.
But just when I was in my tent at night.
Yeah, I brought them in case I got bored walking, which is, it's kind of odd to think about, I think. But just in case. And then I ended up not doing it. I was able to just be in my mind, just thinking about things. And I don't know about you, but I find it quite, being in the bush. Like, Tom and that would also sometimes say, like, Paddy, you're overworking yourself. It's like, mate, I feel refreshed coming out of the bush.
Yeah,
like,
clears the headache.
It's a good reset, and particularly by myself, as I've spent a lot of time just by myself in my own head. And, like, I think that's something a lot of us don't do. Like, everyone's always reaching for the phone. As soon as you get bored, it's like straight to the phone. And it's like, that forces out in nature. I was able to just like, I'm able to just relax and like feel the sun, hear the animals, the birds, and like I got a thing for fantails, like when they see me in the bush, and I feel like it's like I'm communicating with this thing, and like it's just trying to show off its nice light feathers, and like it's happy that I'm there, and like I love just being out in nature and being with those, doing hard things, achieving those things.
It's good to know too when you overcome a hard obstacle that you can do it. So I had one this week. I was talking to the boys about it, but I was sparring Friday night, and like G jabbed me in the eye. You know how like sometimes like you actually take like a glove to the eyeball.
Yeah, and it's hard to see.
Yeah, so it was hard to see, and it was like one of those moments where
you could have turned away.
Like there's two types of people. I think there's one that like would squint their eye and be like, oh, like I'm hurt. Please don't
give me a minute. Yeah,
but not even give me a minute, but just showing the body language of like, please don't hurt me. This is just training. But I had the mindset of like, fuck, I'm gonna hide that I'm in pain, like get through the round and then rub my eye out, and that's exactly what I did. And then afterwards, I was thinking like, I'm glad I did that. Yeah. Like it's sort of those little moments will add up. That
can you do that in a fight, bro? Someone punches you in the fight, and you're like, oh, bro,
well, exactly.
I can't see, bro. Give me a second.
And that's it. It's like you're proving to yourself that you can battle through those moments.
And that's why we do martial arts, right? Like I do martial arts for self-defense and confidence to know that if I needed to, I could whoop someone's ass.
Yeah, and it definitely gives you a lot of confidence.
It does. And it's cool, and like it's something I've liked. I've been talking to flatmates about with Jiu Jitsu particularly, but I think it's any martial art is how it can change a person because it's hard. You're gonna have to go through like 5-10 years of training to get from white belt to black belt for Jiu Jitsu, and other belts are different. Kickboxing, they don't have belts, but it's, they're black belt level skill, and to go through that journey is you're gonna face injuries, you're gonna face hardships. And I think it can make a soft person harder, like someone who's maybe lets people take control of them and abuse them maybe, and they like kind of just give in, can make a softer person a bit harder, where now if they need to be, they can be hard.
Yep.
And it can make someone who's a bit hard a bit softer because he's got training partners that he's going to have to look after, not be a dick. Like no gym, and I think our gym is great for it, of like, a dickhead couldn't survive at our gym because True and the boys like would like if I'm training right with some guy, and to me it'd be a dickhead if we got a new guy come in and he just like goes to town on this guy, like fucking just feels like the man. It's like, bro, any of us could do that. That just makes you a dickhead.
Well, it's going to be a tough night for that guy because it means every single round is like, if I saw him doing that and I'm going next round, I'm going to try fuck him up.
Yeah.
And then the next guy's going to try fuck him up.
And that's the gym mindset of keeping people in check and realizing like that's not the way to act. And I think that's what martial arts does offer you, and I think that's great. Like I think sometimes I need to be harder. And so I feel like I can get that from jiu-jitsu. Like sometimes I might have someone's arm, say, and I'm not as hard as I need to be. Or like sometimes I think your personality's in there. Like I might jump on a submission and that's me being like over enthusiastic, like set it up, keep it tight, move for it. And I think that could speak in your normal life. You have an opportunity and you just throw everything at it rather than like secure that opportunity. And I love those sort of kind of metaphors of looking at life through the physical as well as the kind of metaphorical, if you will.
And it puts your ego in check too. I know personally for me, like I grew up doing taekwondo, but I used to get like in a lot of fights, especially like in football.
Yeah.
But it was weird. It was like, I was 19, 20. It was almost like I was trying to prove myself to others that I could fight, but I also think I had in the back of my mind, like, I don't know if I did have what it takes. So I'm like, I'm trying to act as the tough guy. But
I want to be that guy.
But I wasn't really. But now that I've been training for so much longer, without sounding too cocky, it's like I feel like I can be that guy, but I don't want to be that guy. Like I get in way less fights, and I'm just like, it's unnecessary, bro. Like, I don't need to fight.
And
then if it comes to it, well, then you are way more skilled than you once were.
And this comes to, we know we're both fans of Joe, and Joe talks about how he thinks you could eliminate bullying by getting children into martial arts. And I think, like, because I'm the exact same, and Kyle's the exact same, where we used to get in scraps all the time. As soon as I started training, I had one situation where I stood up for myself and I didn't like what the guy had done to me, and we had a little thing, but I've never fought anyone else since. And it's that whole, like, I think it's like, I now know in my head, I go to training and I spar, or I used to spar, I haven't been kickboxing, as you make me well aware recently, but when I was, is like, it's very much like, I don't need to prove it to anyone. And I've still got that to some degree now, where I've done it, and I still want to check off actually having a fight, but I've still done it to some degree in training, and it's like now I feel like I don't need to prove that to the boys or to myself at a night out in town. Like now I could walk away from something because I know I could fight this guy if I want to, but I actually don't want to. Whereas I'd feel like a pussy or bitch if I decided, if I just left the conflict and then I'm like walking away and I don't feel like I actually could have fought him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Then I'm now the bitch.
Like if you're walking away because you're scared.
Yeah, that's different.
Not because you're the man. Like,
that's different.
Yeah.
And I think we should teach children that, because there is a difference. Like you're told to be a good child at school, like you should walk away. But it's like they don't want you to walk away from conflict at school, because teachers have a lot to deal with and they don't want to have to deal with more conflict. But like you transfer that into life, as soon as some people find conflict, they just run away. They just walk away. And they're just doing what they did as a child. You can't blame them. But like I think the teachers should almost, the people raising our children should go through the hardness of actually, kids, you should stand up for yourself. And like you should, step up. You should be willing to almost fight if you needed to, but not,
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with this, like, never use violence. You know how they teach your kids, like, oh, never use violence, blah, blah, blah. Especially, like, if I had a son and he was getting bullied, I'd be like, bro, you got to stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to go punch this kid in the face.
And the thing is, like, he might have to punch that kid in the face, but he's going to, like, that might stop the bullying for, the rest of schooling.
It'll probably teach them both. It's going to teach the bully, I can't push people past a certain limit.
Yeah, and especially this guy. And now your kid is now able to just be as a kid at school.
Yeah, exactly.
And he needed to show violence to do that, and like, sometimes violence is necessary, man. And
I agree. But it's a bit more complex when it comes to females. But for males, it's always the underlying threat of violence, Yeah,
some guys are always sizing each other up, eh?
Well, I think guys do it naturally, right? You just like meet someone new and you just naturally do it. You're like sizing them up.
Checking them out, like, fuck. Okay, could I take this cunt? Yeah.
I've heard on podcasts that apparently when you raise your voice to a man, like lots of people do it subconsciously. It's like you're intimidated by them. You're trying to show them that you're not a threat.
True.
So it's like
When you go lower.
Well, you go low if you're a certain dominance.
Like a deep voice, like
Jay.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, Jay.
But if you're like, hey, like it's real nice to meet you, blah blah blah. It's like you're coming across as, I'm not coming across as violent or intimidating, threatening.
It's interesting. Sometimes I actually think I don't like having my hands in my pocket, because it's like your hands are trapped. If something had to happen, you've now got another whole step before Yeah. And like if guys ever get into it, you might go through the like cross arms, like I can sit there like I'm the man kind of thing, but like your arms aren't there ready. And then like I think all guys have seen the videos of like some guys getting dropped and stuff, and it's like you don't want to be that guy.
No. On hardships, you've been through a few hardships in your life, especially at a younger age. Do you mind sharing what happened in your pool incident?
You mean my cardiac arrest?
Yeah.
So when I was 15, and like low key, it was probably harder for my old man than me, but I was I used to play water polo. There's nothing, I was thinking about retaking water polo up recently, but it's like, how can I fit this in? Because it's my sport, man. I'm good at that. But anyway, I was playing water polo. I was 15 years old, and went down to Huia. It was any normal Wednesday. And my mate Kieran would get dropped at my house, and my dad would take us to water polo. And then it's funny. So that I was the fastest swimmer on my team, and so I'd typically do the swim off, which is on. You imagine walking into Huia. Oh, sorry, it was Nino. You imagine walking into Nino. The far side is where the swim off happens, where the ref will stand with the ball. And then the buzzers go and you swim off, and you're trying to get to the centre, and they'll drop the ball in the centre.
Right.
And then the swimmer is trying to like get the ball back to the next player. So I typically did that, but on this one occasion, there was a kid doing a student exchange, which I ended up doing that same exchange, which is fun enough. But he was a kid from Arizona, and I remember and he was doing the swim off because apparently he was a good swimmer. And so for the first time ever, me playing water polo, I was on second in from the right. And we pushed off, and my dad reckons I pushed off. And then I kind of went down to the bottom of the pool. And so like everyone else is just swimming normally, getting into position. And then I come up real awkwardly on the side, and I take Dad looked like he said it was a real awkward breath. And then I went back down to the bottom and just stayed on the bottom. And
that's a deep pool too, right?
I mean, you couldn't, in that side, there was two. So you've got I couldn't stand up. Maybe I'd just be bouncing to stand up in that part, and then it goes down like further down. So I was on this end, which would be the safer end, the shallower end, and then the kids' end was shallower again. Yeah, I think it was angled up, and then because of how my dad is, like he said, everyone thought I was mucking around and like playing games and stuff, which is funny because it's not actually. I wouldn't do it during a game, but I guess we were playing Sacred Heart Girls, so it was a mixed game, and so I had some friends on that team and stuff, and then so I sunk down, and then Dad's starting to get wild, like, Patrick, like, haven't come here to see you muck about, and like he's getting worked up, and so my coach tells Kieran to swim in and get me and pull me to the side. So he pulls me to the side. My dad's like steaming out the ears. I can only imagine. Like it's embarrassing him kind of thing. He grabs my arm, pulls me out in the water, and he's telling me off. He says, "Patrick, I haven't come here to see you muck about." As he's doing this and pulls me to the surface, like my head just rolls onto the concrete side of the pool, and he can recognize that like I'm limp. And so he pulls me to this, and like he's got me there, and then he said he just got pushed out of the way, and there was a dentist there. There was a woman that was works on an ambulance, or she had some medical background, and so they instantly pushed my dad aside and they started CPR. And then the pool, 90 pool, had just the week before, they had decided it was wise to buy a defibrillator. So most places, most event centres, pools, gyms will all have defibrillators now. And luckily for me, they got the defibrillator the week before. And so they put that defibrillator on me, and apparently they're like putting up tarpaulins because I had some friends from school who were playing, I think the game after maybe, so they come to watch. Or maybe they were filling in for Sacred Heart, I think. And they said, like, they put up the tarp, so they thought it was like, they were like taking out dead body kind of thing.
Oh, that must have been so hard on your dad.
Bro, so then this is what the killer was, I think, for Dad, is they put on the defib, and so it talks to you, and it says, no heartbeat detected, preparing to shock, please step away. And so, Dad's hearing his son, like, seeing his son, like, dead on the ground, and hearing that, and he said that he heard the machine voice in his head for a while afterwards. So yeah, that's when I say like that would be pretty hard for me, old man. Me, then they were able to bring the defib did its job, brought me back. My heart rate was apparently going at like 400 when it brought me back. Like it's just, you imagine the charts, like just going like crazy. Then it settled down. They put me in the ambulance. They cut me, and I was wearing because we were playing girls, I was wearing my best pairs of Speedos, bro. I had my best 2 pairs on.
Of course you did.
And they fucking just snipped them off. I was real gutted. And like, I don't even know why, but they're like, obviously I think they just don't want something, like they're trying to work out what's wrong with you and stuff, and they're trying, I don't know, I guess let's just get this out the way. So they cut my Speedos. But they were saving my life, so maybe I can forgive them.
A bit orthodox.
And then apparently I was just like, stuff's coming out both ends, like your body's just like in absolute shock, like what the hell's going on. So get to the hospital, and I think they were on the way to sending me to Wellington, but I was recovering well, so they just sent me to Heart Hospital. And then this is when I remember Kieran arriving, because I was gaming at the time, and I can remember seeing him in the doorway, the silhouette in the doorway. And then my next memories is just being cold as fuck. And I was in the CT scan, so I was, making the real loud noise. And they had all these bags of ice on me. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, get this off me. I could not understand. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around why they were, like, keeping me cold. And I was telling them, like, I'm cold. Like, stop. Like, and I'd be throwing the bags away, and they'd keep putting them back. And I could not get my head around. I was like, what are you trying to do? Like, I was getting real frustrated. And I was told afterwards that they want to keep the body cold because then the heart doesn't need to pump so much. Like, it ends up slowing down your heart rate, and then they always like a slower heart rate because like as opposed to exercising, because you're more likely to go into bad rhythms, and so that's why they're calling you. But fuck, I was like, what are you trying to do? It feels like you're killing me. Like, they were giving me this cold exposure.
Sounds brutal.
And then finally I got my blankets and they let me warm up. That was good. And then I just remember a couple times of people visiting, and I remember certain people visiting, and like a lot of my friends came, people from school, water polo coaches, and it was pretty touching time where, people come out, support my parents. Some people stayed in the hospital room with me, and it was kind of one of those nice moments where your loved ones stick up for you, and I'm sure people helped out my parents significantly as well. And yeah, then I was 10 days later, I went and decided that I needed a defibrillator. So most people, if you go through a cardiac event, you'll end up likely getting an internal defibrillator, so an ICD, as internal cardiac device is what it stands for. And so I went to Wellington Hospital, and then went through the surgery, and they told my parents, I'll be I think it was the first time was about 2 hours, because I've got to put leads through, they put leads through veins down to your heart. So sometimes I get people to feel the lead, because you can feel some leads at the top here.
True.
And so they have to feed those in, and then they put in the device, and then they decided to put my device under the muscle, because I was very keen to get back to sports. And it's another layer of protection than it's sitting under the skin. So some people have it under the skin. And then, so they do that, and apparently I woke up, and I clearly not like hospital stuff, because I woke up during the anaesthetist must have buggered up the calculations. And so I woke up during, and so they're like kind of still doing stuff, or like just stitching me up. And I just remember seeing all these bright lights, people with masks, and my first instinct was just like, I've been abducted. And I just start
aliens or something.
Bro, straight up. I was just like, what the fuck? And I just start fucking and you imagine you got IVs and shit coming out of like veins, bro, fucking everything. And I'm just throwing around, like trying to fight. And you imagine I've just had my pec cut through. Ooh. So I'm now going like this, I'm putting up a scrap, and they're just trying to get their mask back on and back out. And then, but because of that, they had to check all the leads and make sure. I just got cramp in my leg. So they check all the leads to make sure that they were right. And because I did that, this ended up swelling up massively, my chest. And so I remember coming out, and I had this massive bandage, and it was just taped, and they're trying to pressurize it back down because it was up here.
Shit.
And apparently then they told me about it, and I kind of remembered that. I remember scrapping the surgeons and everything. So that was quite funny. And then I was then told by my cardiologist from the heart that I should only play golf for the rest of my life. And here I am, 15, and they tried to put me on all these medications. And I tried them for a little while, but the thing with beta blockers, I couldn't have certain ones, but a version of beta blocker is they dull everything, and they lower signaling from the heart and back and forth, which is supposed to reduce the risk of cardiac events. But if you imagine getting dulled everything, that dulls your emotions, that dulls joy, sadness, And I know I have a friend who has shakes, and they tried putting him on beta blockers for a while, and he actually lived on them for a while. But he said like he really noticed like he had no joy, like
it sounds rough. It's like the quality of life. Like, what's the point,
right?
if you can't enjoy all those things?
And so like I'm 15, and they put me in this like cardiac support group. And just a quick note here is I love so there's a story with one of the guys in the group had a cardiac arrest around the same time as I did, and he was 65 or something. He had a daughter my age, and she did CPR. For some reason, there was a mix-up with the hospital on her father for 2 hours before the ambulance got there. And so most of the time they talk, and I was at a tramping club the other day, and they were talking about how like there's no point doing CPR past, like if you do CPR for an hour, I think the ambulance people will do it for an hour max. So you should always like low-key tell them you've just started CPR, because they'll do CPR for longer.
Right.
So you're going to maximize the time they'll do CPR. And so he had CPR for like, I believe it was 4 hours, bro. And he came back. But the standard practice is just like an hour. So like, it's interesting. But you can't expect paramedics to be doing 4 hours of CPR on people. Like, it's very exhausting. So I think it's an interesting side note there. But anyway, so I'm in the cardiac support group, and with the medication, and they had me on all this medication, and I knew I had an appointment coming up, and I decided, no, I'm not going to take this medication. I'm going to go and do the tests, because they do like all the tests when I go in. They put on all the electrodes and check me out. And so I went in, and my mum's was on to me about the medication, because she knew I didn't like taking it. And so I had to I had to hide in tissues and stuff, and scrunch them up, because she'd be looking through my bin and stuff. Well, I had to hide these things. And then I go into the meeting, they do all the tests, and the lady's wrapping up, and she's like, "Thanks, sweet Patrick, you all looking healthy. We'll see you again in 6 months." And I was like, "Sweet." And just so you know, I haven't been taking the medication. And then I was, just like madness comes in. Leaves the room, gets another doctor, gets another doctor, and all of this massive hassle. And I end up talking to the main guy at Wellington Hospital, some foreign fella, Alejandro was his name, and he was the man. And I was like, he's like, "Patrick, we really need you to take the medication, and it's just really about reducing risk, and we really want you to take it." And I was like, but I'm here I am 15, and I'm just like, "But mate, you guys were just telling me that I was good to go, that I was healthy, that all my signals, everything was good, I was looking great. So what changed was that I told you I wasn't taking the medication." And he stops, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right. We did. You are healthy. You are looking good." And he's like, "Well, look, ultimately," he's like, "I'm deciding that it is your choice. I can't force you to have it, but I would like you to, because he says it's a risk thing." And then I kind of got into the whole that balance of life, as you mentioned before. And I think he understood that, and I haven't taken any medication since. And I've had a couple issues, if you will, here and there, but there's no evidence to suggest that you wouldn't have similar issues. But it's not flagged, because my heart's monitored all the time.
Right.
My data's all accumulated, and so drinking can cause these arrhythmias that I once had after. And guess what? Day of the year, I was having these drinking related heart problems.
Was it New Year's or something?
New Year's. So it's the chances are a lot of people go through these things. Well, I think anyway, but the data isn't there. But so I have that kind of started my medical approach with those things, and that balance of life, and live, as opposed to the general consensus of living longer, and they're just trying to reduce risk. And they know that, say, if people start running, the chances of them going into a bad rhythm's higher. But thankfully my parents supported me in wanting to just live a normal life, and since then I've done triathlons, I've done a half marathon, I've bungee jumped, I've done the odd substance. I've drunken. I've gotten smashed. You know, like I do saunas. I do ice baths. I'd say, well, it's normal. I live normal. Like
yeah, you do.
I live hard. I go to the wall. It hasn't stopped me. It hasn't got my way, and I do enjoy not letting it stop me. And I went to one of these. They had a health support group for all the ICD people, and actually it was quite sad. So I got invited, and everyone, man, it was like a room full of like 80 people in the hut, and everyone was just depressed, and everyone's on the medication. Their lives have been ruined from this, like from the events of the cardiac arrests, and it was brutal. And I'm starting to get like racked up. Well, guys, for me, I'm living pretty good, and like I stopped taking my medication, and I start like, you know, and I'm like,
you told me you were sharing that at the meeting,
but like I was trying to do it in a good way, because like obviously some people need, like some people are on statins and things like that, which I think are like, if they get off it, especially if they just rush off it or whatever, like it'll fuck them, like they might die. So I was trying to keep that in mind, but I was also like trying to share my experiences. And because I think there's a lot that probably could get off some medication, especially if, like, my approach has always been, if I look after my diet, if I eat healthy, and if I exercise and am healthy, like I will not have problems. And that's kind of been my mindset, and that has been my experience. And I felt with these guys, I was just trying to share that a little bit, and I never got invited back for any future meetings. And I don't know if it was just because it was too negative of an environment, or if because they didn't want me there.
Well, I got mad respect for you, bro, because I mean, I've known that you've been through this for a long time. I remember even when I was 15 reading about what happened in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Because we obviously went to primary school together, but then lost contact for a good 10 years. And I was like, I remember talking to Mum about it. I was like, holy shit, look at this. Like, Patrick Shepherd almost died.
Used to knew that guy. Yeah.
I used to like race you in biathlons back in primary school.
Crack up.
But for all the time I've known you as an adult, you've done a lot of things, and I've never seen you use it as an excuse. Most people don't even know you have this heart condition.
Nah. I think they're surprised.
Yeah, you're competing for a doctor to say you can only golf.
Yeah.
And now you're training combat sports and competing in Jiu Jitsu and doing Ironmans and shit. It's it's admirable.
No, thank you. And honestly, I got to thank my parents, I think, because they allowed me and they encouraged me to just live a normal life. And I'd listened to a little bit of Alan Watts. I don't know if you know him, but he's got some great lines about like a life half lived is like it's not worth living. Like a short life, what's the line? It's like a long life full of what you don't like doing is miserable, but a shorter life full of what you love doing is like it's a much enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
I've butchered his line. Like his line's like a nice, like, you know, quote, but it spoke to me when I was young, and I'm able to just not let it get in the way.
Well, it seems like from the last few years that I've been a lot closer with you, you are living your life to the fullest.
Well, I'm trying to.
Giving it all a go, right?
Well, why not? And like, I'm still trying to work out my particular journey, but I like to try things. I've got interests. I've got way too many interests, you know, like it's like, if I had enough time, man, I would be able to speak 50 languages. Like I'd be able to do, like I'd be qualified in this, and I'd be studied this, and I'd love to just, like when people say they're bored and stuff, like, it's like, from what? Like you could do anything. Like get on YouTube. Like I spend way too much time on YouTube because I'm just like fascinated with this and fascinated with that and like that, and that's cool. And I wish I did more of that. And it's like, I have to like hold myself back from getting too like into stuff. I just want to I just want to just learn and grow. And the idea, again, another person that was kind of, I spent a bit of time watching on YouTube as when I was younger, Elliot Holtz, he was very about being the strongest version of yourself. And he was an ex-strongman, so he's very much gym focused as well. But it's not just, you know, the strongest version of yourself isn't just strong in the gym. Like it's no good if you're strong in the gym, but like you can't touch your toes, you know, or you emotionally, you know, someone just says something and you just like fucking start hitting people, you know, like you're not the strongest version of yourself. And that idea has only grown. Like it's a huge part of who I am.
That's part of the path, right?
It is the
like
path.
Becoming the best version of yourself in all realms of life.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what's brought us together, because as you say, we didn't contact at all. And then like I would have remembered you. And then I remember I saw a story and you were talking like your cat's doing Jiu Jitsu. And I was like, oh, bro. And I'd seen a couple like videos of you doing Jiu Jitsu. And I think I reached out and I was just like, bro, you still doing that? Where do you do that? And that was the beginning of our friendship and me training Jiu Jitsu and kickboxing. And
you took that step to come down to training.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, think of all the people it's connected just from.
It's amazing.
From us coming together, and now it's like we're boys, you know, boys with Kyle and Tom and like everyone.
Yeah.
And
like it's intermingled our groups.
Yeah, like our two groups have almost combined.
Yeah. Yeah, like your boys, I'm like good friends with a lot of them. I'm in all of them. And that's cool. Like we've been on hunts with some of them. Like train jiu-jitsu, like a lot of your mates are on the path and do jiu-jitsu and stuff. Come to kickboxing, sparred like Elliot and stuff. And like, yeah, as you say, like we have connected, and I'd say we're both better people because of each other.
100%.
And like, I think ultimately when we're on the path, it's like you need people around you that I find it easier to be on the path with others.
It's because we, in a way, understand each other, right?
Yeah. But I don't think it's just that. I think it's like we bounce off each other, like as we were talking about with hunting, how like you got the roer and then I got a knife and then you got the rifle and then, you know, whatever. And it's like there's someone else to kind of bounce off and to encourage it. So maybe it is that, like, just because they understand where you're coming from, what you want, it's the same sort of thing, so you can relate. And I think you both win out of it, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And you really do become the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So we're both competitive.
Yeah.
If you're slacking and you're like, oh fuck, Brad's still out there training every day, you're like, I've got to get back.
Right. Like, and so you talk about how you travel and like you'd be training in down south, and I didn't mind those ones because I'm like, because sometimes you would train, but sometimes you might not be able to. And I'm like, I'm getting an extra one on Brad here. And like,
not these days, boy.
Not these days. But then you were always like, you know, a bit better. And then so like, I remember there was a time where like, all of a sudden I started sweeping you and you like couldn't sub me in that round and stuff. And I'm like,
it's probably a warm-up role, bro.
And I was just, I was like, here we go. The fucking hard work's paying, all those extras with Shawnee paying off. But unfortunately, that side of I haven't been training so much jits, but I'm just trying to balance that. Like, what can I focus on?
Yeah, you just gotta. It sounds like you're figuring out. It's your life at the end of the day, right? You have to figure out what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say, you know, training jiu-jitsu is the be-all, end-all. Like, if that's not your passion, then fair enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might want to get into water polo.
No, but that's what my problem is like I can do jiu-jitsu and it feels like it's amazing, like I love it, and then it's like, but I do water polo and I fucking love that, you know. It's like,
well, you just have you have to come to the conclusion: do I want to be like average at all these things, or do I want to be a specialist at one thing?
Exactly.
I mean, we look at like Monty, right? He's
made
his mind up. Yeah. It's like, I want to be a specialist,
and I do
in
respect
jiu-jitsu.
that.
And you can clearly see it on the mats. Like, he's levels above us.
Yeah.
But then you bring him into another element of shit that we do, and we're going to be levels above him.
Yeah. But
so it's just finding that balance.
It is finding that balance. And like even hunting, or like, you know, I did Toastmasters for a while, and it's like, I just love doing things. I love adding things to myself. And I think that's kind of in large part is the point of life, is to accumulate these skills and then share it with your friends and family. And I am looking forward to that.
I guess this is why people say you should respect your elders, because imagine if you continue on this path for 20 years, how wise you'll be in 20 years, because you would have had a life,
bro.
You know, long lived. I sometimes have to check myself on that, because you overlook old people's advice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're old, you don't understand. But it's like, I mean, some people,
100%.
if they're an NPC, don't listen to them. But if they've lived a fulfilling life,
Yeah, bro.
successful life, then you probably do have to take some of their wisdom on board, right?
For sure. And like it's, yeah, I can. My respect for my parents has only grown as I've gotten older, because it's just like I recognize like, oh, now I live by myself and I'm like doing all the cooking, washing, and all the. It's like these guys were doing that for me for how many years?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like,
and
they had a real full time job. Like, it's not like my parents like had it easy or anything. But it's easy sometimes to. I find I maybe judge, especially my loved ones, like a bit harshly, you know. And it's realizing that like everyone's going through this shit. Everyone's just doing their best, and my parents have done a pretty good job, and I'm very thankful for them and who they are, and my brother, you know.
It's beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to round it up.
Yeah, bro.
Thank you,
sure.
brother.
Easy as.
Until next time, there's still
mate,
plenty more
good.
topics
there
to
is
cover.
Still plenty much to talk about, but and I'm still keen. We haven't talked about your head in the garden, but
We'll get to that next time, I reckon. It's another 20-minute story in itself.
all right, brother.
All right, peace.
Easy.